doing today? Obi, how are you, my friend?
Not too bad. Surviving, kind of.
Yeah, that's all that matters. Thriving and surviving at the same time. We'll wait for a couple people to pull over here in the chat, and we'll do some shout-outs here, guys. I mean, it's been a red day thus far. NVDA touching all-time highs and then selling immediately after. A little bit of a tough go there. I'm waiting for people to weasel, as Sharif would like to say, their way in, and then we'll do a little bit of a roll call here. So let's fire that up. Charlie, what's going on, my friend? Comsy, Stock Senses, Steve Gupple, J Low, why not? The Beautiful Gates, what's going on, everybody? OX Long, Comsy again, Pickle Jim, Spark Shop, Richard, Famugo, what's up, everybody? Why not? I don't know. You tell me why not. Obi, he's in the chat. Fiddleback, Dr. JD Voice, Jose Perez, Donkey Trader, Gluten-free crypto, okay, interesting. Fox, what's going on? Idris, T-Dog selling, boom, let's go. 4XAU, my guy, what is up? Jay Lee, kicking yourself this morning. We'll see why. Get me in the chat and let me know why, what you were up to earlier. Let's see, Simp Pop Boy, okay, I see you. I voted Fubo already. All right, good to see. Nice to have everybody in the chat here, guys. A little bit of a red day. Well, I don't know about a little bit, but the VIX is spiking higher. NVDA is selling. And yeah, it's been a tough one. I mean, Apple making some new highs of day, but kind of just hovering around the volume-weighted average price right now. But other than that, Obi, a little bit of a quiet one and somewhat of a stinker on the session. What do you think, my friend?
Yeah, no, definitely. Where is the bid on NVIDIA, you may ask? I was definitely asking that question off of the open there. And yeah, no, bit of a rough day. I tried the long on that 150. Kind of gave it to this low here, 148s. Didn't really work out. Tried again in and around. I think it was 146s. Gave it to 144s. A little too wide and a little too heavy, and I'm shut down on the day. But you know what? It's okay. You kind of reassess. You figure out what you did wrong. And today, what I did wrong was getting a little too aggressive when NVIDIA clearly does not have a bid, and maybe too wide of a risk. But that's okay. We put in some good reps today, right now on the demo, and then come back tomorrow swinging just as hard and maybe a little bit better as well with the risk management. Let's see what Adara has to say with some news.
Couple pieces of news to be aware of here, both of which I'm seeing reported by CNBC. First, we have American Eagle on watch, AEO, basically seeing reports from CNBC that True Religion, which is a jeans brand, they were pretty big in the mid-2000s, apparently being acquired by Acon Investments as a private equity firm. But they're also, this acquisition also involves here SB360 Capital, which is linked to American Eagle. So American Eagle could have some role here, it looks like, in this Gene acquisition. Keep an eye on AEO and also keep an eye on DJT. Not only do we have Donald Trump set to give remarks here from Mar-a-Lago, I am all tuned in ready for that, but also we do have some reports here coming from CNBC that Trump is expected to, at this Mar-a-Lago press conference, announce a $20 billion investment to build new AI data centers. So keep an eye on all these AI names with that involved. The CNBC story even involves potential investors, including Hussein Shahjwani, who's a billionaire. So keep an eye on DJT and all of these AI-related names as we await those comments. He's not begun to speak yet, from what I can tell, guys.
Good stuff. Yeah, Obi, so we got a part 2 of our VPA today. Is there anything you would like to touch on before we dive into the lesson?
No, nothing really. I'm just kind of just observing that. The thing is, what I realized, sure, it's in retrospect here, kind of asking myself, okay, sure, I tried the 150 long on NVIDIA, and the fact that it didn't work. The thing is, Jensen Huang actually spoke at CES last night, 6:30 p.m. And then coming in today, pre-market, NVIDIA hits those all-time highs. We get to 155s in the pre-market session. And then we start to fail. We start to fail off of the open, pulling back into 150s. And then once that 150 doesn't hold, 148 is prior day's low. That doesn't hold as well. I'm like, all right, cool. Trying the 150, I think, is not bad, but trying to continue the long after it breaks through this 148, I think is absolutely ridiculous, and that's a big mistake that I made for sure, that continuing to try the long after the 148. It's pretty much, sure, it's in retrospect, it's in hindsight, but it was pretty much a sell the news event.
Yeah.
Right?
I
We
agree.
failed to follow through all-time highs in the pre-market, and then we're giving up yesterday's range when yesterday's action was quite strong. So I think that with that in mind, I think definitely going forward, I got to be a little bit more wary of when CEOs are speaking, when sell the news events are actually happening. We've been running up into CES here, attempting to push those all-time highs, and we clip them in the pre-market. And the failure to follow through is definitely a very strong piece of price action. So that's something I definitely have to be a little more aware of going forward. But there are still a lot of opportunities in this market. Palantir was pretty nice off of for the continuation. I was at Google off of the open. We got through 200. I was like, yesterday Google was really strong off the open. We broke yesterday's highs at 198 and pushed into almost 201s off of the open before we got that reversion there, and that was distinctly different from the market as well. So still lots of great opportunities in this market, and fighting the trend still isn't it.
Yeah. I mean,
have to say.
Yeah, I agree with you there, man. There's no questioning that. A tough session. Looking for that bounce today, especially with the VIX spiking, is a tough go. I tried a couple of longs on IBIT here. We're in some right now as well too. We did happen to catch a little bit on Tesla that is currently working out. So we're gonna have to hold this and wait until the volume weighted average price. But I mean, before we hop into the lesson here, guys, let's just take a look at this engulfing candle here on the daily on NVDA. Would you look at that there, OB? What a massive engulfing session. Yeah, really tough look. I mean, when I was running my scanners on the train this morning, I'm like, ooh, okay, another gap up from NVDA. I was expecting a gap and go, and then maybe we go into that blue sky territory, as we like to say here. But it has been the total opposite case. The VIX has been spiking as well too. So a red day wouldn't be forcing those longs. Don't try to catch those falling knives. I mean, Obi, you had a game plan, you executed. Yeah. Unfortunately, it just didn't work. That's part of the game. That's part of the world that we live in. Yeah. So the quicker that you have the ability to accept that, the quicker you can move on and then look forward. Yeah, exactly, and bounce back. And as you always say, Obi, what is the next trade? Exactly. And sure enough, tomorrow, the market's going to be open up again. So yeah, we're fortunate in that aspect, guys. But let's dive into the lesson here. We're gonna hop into part two. So we'll do just a little bit of a quick review of everything that we were going over yesterday. So this is annualizing volume by time signatures, all right? So we're gonna correlate our volume by time and the price action together, all right? So igniting volume, seeing a significant volume increase through support or resistance levels can be classified as igniting volume. And then we have stopping volume as well too, folks. So identifying stopping volume can be recognized at extremes. Look for indecision price action prints at highs or lows with isolated volume signatures. Now we're gonna go over some key examples. It's always important to have some live examples, but I guess we had to do some screenshots here. But get a visual of what we are looking at is more or less what I'm getting at. So we went over this example yesterday. So igniting volume displayed on the daily chart below, you can identify volume stepping in at key resistance zones and continuing through the breakout. So as you can see, we have a consistent consolidation phase, as I mentioned yesterday here. And then as we break out, you can see from a relative standpoint that this volume really steps in. Obi and I were talking about this yesterday from a breakout standpoint. This is what you want to see to give you more conviction within that setup. If you're a breakout trader and that volume starts to step in, that can also give you more conviction within that setup and a higher probability that that setup is going to work at that specific time, and that will allow you to also exponential bet size on that trade, which is a totally different subject. So again here, guys, we can point out that we're consolidating extremely low, and then as Tesla breaks out, that volume steps in, which is extremely important, okay? So now let's take a look at stopping volume here, folks. As displayed on the chart below, the stock gap down, then printed a large daily price action candle and a large isolated volume signature, all right? This can be classified as stopping volume. So here we are again. Oops, let's go. Here we are, folks. So one thing that I want to point out here on Meta is that as you can see here, we have this massive gap down. But then that volume steps in, and that can determine and depict like, hey, we are no longer going to depreciate in price. There may be a potential turnaround, And sure enough, as we break the highs, we had the inability to test the lows. We break the highs, and then Meta doesn't look back. So this can be classified as stopping volume, a massive gap down, that big volume signature, holds that indecision print, and sure enough, we re-enter the gap and then fill that gap and don't look back. So that is what we would classify as stopping volume there, folks. All right, so now let's move on to some isolated pivots. All right, so isolated pivots are a great signal to be able to identify on all or multiple time frames. All right, locating isolated pivots at extreme highs and extreme lows is really, really key. And this is what I look for. I know I talked to you guys a lot about, I'm looking for these isolated pivots. I'm looking for those indecision candles at extreme highs and at extreme lows. All right, so at potential peaks in a technical trend, look for the isolated pivot to consist of a higher, than candles on either side as well as higher lows, okay? So at potential troughs in a technical trend, look for the isolated pivot to consist of lower lows than candles on either side as well as lower highs, all right? So we're gonna get a visual of these also in a brief second. These signals can indicate a possible turnaround in price, correlated with isolated volume signatures. This can give you more conviction in the possible reversal in that trend. So this is key signals that I am always looking for, and especially on days like today, I'm absolutely going to be looking for those reversal signals. They can show or they won't. It's really hit or miss on that front. But just keep your eye out. Not every day you're going to get the trade, but when they do show up, they're extremely powerful. And then hopefully you have the ability to take advantage of these, all right? So here's an example here on Uber, guys. As you can see, again, we gap down. And then we get these pivots, same pivots as I showed here on Meta, and then price turns around. So these are signals from an intraday standpoint, from a daily standpoint. I am looking for these, all right? So you can see another one here, not as isolated as this pivot, but again, identical signals displaying themselves, and sure enough, you can take advantage of those when you find them at extremes. So that is one example here on Uber, something that I would be looking for, and you have that isolated pivot here, multiple indecision candles that give you the ability to get in that trade and say, hey, we are no longer going to depreciate in price. Okay, so here is another, and I want to point out the similarities in these prints, all right, so you have the ability to take advantage of them. Two totally different stocks, all right, hammer candle engulfing to the other side, to the top side, and then sure enough, doesn't break the low and then continues to the northeast. And it's the identical setup here on Amazon. And I remember taking this trade earlier in the summer, and it was extremely profitable for me, especially from a daily standpoint. I played a bull put spread on this trade, to be exact, and I just loaded up contracts because I had high conviction within those setups. But again, the identical setup from Uber to Amazon here, guys. You have those volume signatures and those daily candle prints, and then sure enough, the stock does not break the lows of them and then continues to the northeast, all right? So here's another one here on Google. This one I played a a bear call spread, sorry. So selling, writing options, I remember this one, and sure enough, this was after earnings, a big gap up with that isolated pivot there, an island gap, as Sharif would like to refer to, and then we fill up the majority of that gap, and then we head back into the northeast. So what do you say? Okay, well, Joe, it broke the high of the candle. What do I do at that point? You just get out of the trade. The thesis is invalid. You're not always going to get that extension on the play, but if you play the break of the highs or lows of these candles, you will get somewhat of a move, and sure enough, just take profit as you go, stick to your stop losses. If you take profit, you can set your stop back at break even, etc. But as soon as we break the high or the low of those isolated pivots, thesis is therefore invalid, all right? Or that trade is essentially done. Not everything lasts forever, so keep that in mind. All right, and now this is one of the most, this one was amazing. This was when AMD was trading as high as 225. This was a while ago, but we know the run that the semis went on earlier in 24, so just keep that in mind. When that happened, NVDA sold off extremely heavy as well too, but this isolated pivot here on AMD was an absolute monstrous run, and if we I'll pull up the daily later on in the session, and then we can see AMD has yet to recover from this day here, folks. So keep an eye out for this. This isn't at an extreme high. overextension here on AMD. And then sure enough, yet to recover and even get relatively close to anywhere around these all-time highs on AMD, all right? So now this is a trade that I specifically did just to take a look from an intraday perspective, all right? So this was New Year's Eve, I believe, or Christmas Eve, one of the 2 days on Palantir. And it's essentially what I was showing you guys from a daily perspective. Now just breaking down the time frames, going to the 1 minute and showing what I'm looking for when I say I'm looking for these candles and these indecision prints at extreme highs and extreme lows, okay? So here you can see we had extremely weak opening auction and looking for the continuation within the trend. And then now we get that candle print, isolated signature here, and then we turn around in price action here, guys, and then that's when you have the ability to take advantage of these trades. Quick consolidation phase, we add on that front, and then we start taking some size off as we start to head towards our target, and then we break through the volume weighted average price, and then I am all out at 77s there, Obi. So that was last week, later last year, sorry. But guys, this is what I'm looking for, whether it be the 5 minute, the 1 minute, the daily, 30 minute, 15 minute, look for these signatures. They are extremely powerful. Hopefully this helps you take advantage of them and helps you with something on the pattern recognition front, guys. But if you have any questions, be sure to put them in the chat. Obi and I will do our best to answer them. But as of right now, we are off to Adara.
I just want to provide an update on the DJT Donald Trump press conference situation. It was scheduled to begin at 11. It is now 11:20 or 11:19, almost 11:19. And as of right now, all we have is some white noise, a podium, and some American flags in the background. Just want to let you guys know, the second he does step onto the podium and begin speaking, I will let you know. Either way, DJT actually steadily pushing to the upside here. Interesting potential breakout look for this Truth Media or Trump Media and Technology Group here, which does, of course, have Truth Social. So keep an eye on DJT here. Interesting look. Again, one of the announcements you are expecting, as reported by CNBC, is $20 billion for AI data center investment. Just saw a reporter stand up, but no, Trump is still not here. I will let you guys know, though, the second he arrives. Back to you.
Good stuff there. Yeah, what do you got going on there, Obi? Do you find anything to dabble into yet, or what?
Yeah, so again, just seeing if I can take some reps there. Still involved, or still watching this NVIDIA here. Finally looking like it might have found a base of 140 halves, but we'll see. This thing is aggressively selling. And the ATR on this thing is just shy of 6 points, and we've taken almost, over a 10-point run. 154 is kind of 153 is off the open, all the way 150s, and then 141. So almost a 10-point flush to the downside, doing 2 times the ATR on over, I guess, about 2 times the relative volume as well. But we'll be right back with Adara. She's got some breaking news.
We do have some news. NVIDIA not moving too much right now in this, down about 5%, but trying to bottom out a little bit. We have some comments coming out right now. The CFO here, Colette Kress, saying that the company's growth from its AI rollout could last as long as a decade. So we know NVIDIA's had that crazy year-over-year growth. That's been on watch. Now we actually have the CFO saying that there's a chance this could last about a decade. Also saying the company has, quote, a lot of growth opportunity in the future. So some bullish statements here on NVIDIA coming from its CFO. We do have the CES conference happening right now. I haven't seen many headlines from that today, but if I do see anything like this NVIDIA story, I will let you know. Also, just to clarify, Donald Trump has still not taken the podium, and it's just basically still an empty stream, guys. Back to you.
Yeah, good stuff. Obi, there's a good question here in the chat. I want to see if you want to touch on this. Maybe we'll touch on this real quick. So it goes, Obi Joe, how do you guys deal with getting out of a trade prematurely?
Exit rules, pretty much. It happens sometimes, but if you have a plan and you have a target, and you're like, all right, well, I'm looking for this kind of move there. If it's a retracement, if it's a reversion, I'm just like, all right, well, sometimes I like to take it to VWAP. So I'm like, all right, well, I might have a portion of my position that I'll deem as like, okay, these are just going to be discretionary outs based off of what I'm seeing, maybe some structure. But if I have a target, then I'll be like, I want to hold 50%, at least 50% of my position to target if like strong reasons to get out haven't really come in, and it's like defining those reasons definitely helps as well. But yeah, no, if you're getting out a little too early, then I would look into having some sort of like exit rules, exit structure for your position, especially when the position is working, you're in the money, it's doing exactly what you want to see, and kind of part of that goes with like thinking about and visualizing those iterations before the trade. You're like, all right, well, if I'm going to take a breakout on NVIDIA, I want to see it hold. I want to see it hold this level, and then I want to see it consolidate here, and then I want to see it claim VWAP or hold above VWAP, and I want to take some into this level or whatever. It's part of it's definitely part of the planning. If you feel like you're getting out a little too early, then maybe that was never part or in your planning in the first place. So it's like that's what I would kind of say to look towards there.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. So I guess in short, Obi's right, is just have a definitive plan before you get into that trade, and you'll get quicker at it. Sometimes it takes reps in order to kind of get comfortable, but if you have a defined stop loss and then you have your profit targets along the way, then essentially you have no reason to get out of the trade early. We're all human. We've all done it, especially in the earlier years of trading. It's something that happens all the time, and then the underlying asset starts to move in your favor, and you're scratching your head, and you're all frustrated. Don't worry about that. Everybody who's been trading has been through that phase. The best thing you can do is learn from it. Have a definitive plan, as we mentioned earlier. If you have a defined stop loss, then you're not going to be getting out too early. If you have defined price targets, then when your targets get hit, you're not going to be getting out too early. You stuck to your plan, accept the thesis that you built, and then just continue with it. So just have those stop losses in place. That will help you not get out of trades early. I mean, when you first start out, all the bars moving and you have all these numbers flashing, it can get intimidating and things start moving in your favor. You get excited and antsy, and then you make mistakes. But again, it happens. Have that plan in place, and sure enough, over time, you'll be able to perfect your system and continue to trade in the manner that you would like to trade. So yeah, guys, let's take a look at the VIX here real quick. Just spiking up from, let's zoom out here a little bit too from the daily perspective. I mean, nothing crazy here on the VIX, but again, we are moving higher. So when we move to the downside, that's when you'll see the fear start to pick in as as we would like to call this, the fear index. So again, trading around $17 here on the VIX, spiking up today with a low of about $15.86. So yeah, that's it. And when I was looking at the kind of the price action earlier this morning, Obi, and I seen everything aggressively selling, so I'm like, okay, I got to go take a look at the VIX to see if it is starting to pick up steam as well too, and if that can indicate and give me any sense of direction. Are we going to turn around, or is this weakness going to continue in the overall market? So yeah, that's just my look there on the VIX, and again, kind of bouncing right now. MU was actually at the top of my list this morning. Was it on your list? Yeah, it was insane. Yeah. It was at the top of my list. Absolutely wild. Yeah, it was at the top of my list this morning. Didn't get to take advantage of it, but again, just from an intraday perspective, just a gap up. But while the overall market was extremely weak yesterday, Obi, MU decided that it wanted to hold these levels. It held VWAP throughout the whole session and then didn't break down. So when I seen that gap up earlier in the pre-market session, I was like, oh, okay, let's see if we get into this gap and go scenario and we continue within that strength. And sure enough, we had a pretty strong opening half hour or so on MU, but unfortunately kind of just chopping around in the range, but not selling off as aggressively as some of the other tech stocks there. Yeah, no, for sure.
So I'm just kind of observing both the ES and the Nasdaq here, just trying to make some good decisions. But catching a little bit of a bid here, reclaiming that 21.5. We went down to 21.4s. And getting a little bit of a consolidation near these lows here. Same with the ES, and yeah, NVIDIA finally catching a little bit of a bid here. So I like that. We're holding. We kind of based out at that 140.44 and breaking some prior highs here. Let's see if the reversion can potentially come in. I got VWAP sitting all the way up at, what is this, at the 146.04. So you can see here a bit of a break of trend. That selling was pretty aggressive, but you can see how the volume's been kind of falling off. The relative volume was increasing as we sold off, but it's starting to stabilize in and around 2 times. Right here, let's see if we can break past this 142 for a push back up into VWAP, but sellers are definitely in charge today. And yeah, we were talking about a little bit of a failure to follow through. Shout out to Kyle Burdett in the chat. He was talking about how he's seen it many times where you attempt to push the all-time highs in the pre-market off of a potential catalyst there, and then a bit of a failure to follow through, coming back down into pre-market levels, back through prior day's highs. No real bounce there, no real support there, breaking through prior day lows here as well. We were talking about 148s. And yeah, look at that, just slams right through there, breaking a bit of that multi-day trend as well. So a lot of confluence for the short there, but let's see if sellers continue to kind of overpower this, or are they going to step off a little bit? We'll take a look again after we get back from Madeira.
Donald Trump here started the press conference off of the bank saying it's going to be very exciting, and then is now setting here to announce Hussein Sajwani, we mentioned earlier, as reported by CNBC. This is confirmed now. Donald Trump saying that through this DeMac Properties, which is run by Hussein Sajwani, who is a billionaire, there will be a $20 billion new investment across the U.S. here by DeMac Properties. It does seem to be, again, we saw on CNBC that it's going to be focused on AI data centers. Donald Trump has not confirmed this yet, so keep that in mind. But either way, we know Donald Trump was looking for these $1 billion plus investments in the U.S., and it looks like this has now been confirmed. $20 billion here for the U.S. by DeMac Properties, guys. Back to you.
For that, as always, Adara. We have someone in the chat, Jaspreet Singh, asking me to take a look at BHAT Forum. Anything for you? I know you're a regular in the chat, and you're saying the volume is starting to pick up there. Yeah, I agree with you. I know you mentioned it yesterday. You said it was at 5 cents when you mentioned it yesterday. Up over now 100%. It's trading around 11 cents. So Blue Hat Interactive. So let's see what they, let's see what they do. BHAT. So Blue Hat Interactive Entertainment Technology is a producer, developer, and operator of augmented reality, okay, AR, interactive entertainment games, toys in China. Okay, so China-based, extremely small cap here, micro cap even, 6.5 million market cap, sorry. Again, not something that I would be particularly trading. Maybe Sharif would take a gander at this one here, but this might even be a little out of his wheelhouse. It is only 11 cents or so, but I mean, I like this. We were just talking about these pivots at extreme highs and extreme lows. You see this really weak 5-minute opening range, sells off, and then puts in that hammer candle, and sure enough, price turns around. So again, the ability that you guys can gain from seeing these and being displayed, hey, these are some really strong signals. Hopefully you can look to take advantage of those. But Jaspreet, I mean, you were talking about it yesterday, so I don't need to make your head any bigger than what it probably is. Nice work there on that. So really happy for you on that trade. So again, nice look, new high of day, going to test those. That volume is stepping in. These things move completely different than some of the larger caps that we trade. So again, not something that I'm going to particularly look to be trading, but for you, good work, and that's all I can say on that from a volume standpoint. Now let's take a look at Meta, because when I got home yesterday, Obi, I'm like, oh wow, what happened to Meta? And sure enough, I read, so one of my favorite CEOs, Dana White, is going to be joining the board of Meta. Did you see that? Yeah. So yeah, there you go. Dana White on the board of Meta. We know that him and Zuckerberg have
UFC, right?
Pardon me?
She's involved with UFC.
He is. Yeah.
Okay.
Dana, he is. And so him and Mark Zuckerberg kind of build rapport. He goes to the events now. Okay. So now I guess he has enough shares. He's on the board of Meta. So Dana White and Mark Zuckerberg teaming up there, as well as some other people were added to the Meta board as well too, guys. So, but we'll talk more about some stocks right after we get back from Madeira.
We do have some more comments here coming from Donald Trump. He actually did invite Hussein Sajwani, who is again the billionaire investing $20 billion in the U.S. through DeMac Properties. He spoke a little bit. They want to focus apparently on AI and hyperscaler-related investments. So this will be an AI investment. Also, it's worth noting, Trump did clarify here. He had said earlier that if you invest $1 billion in the U.S., you will have some expedited reviews when it comes to regulatory, specifically environmental concerns. Donald Trump has reiterated that. So if you have this $1 billion plus investment in the US, you're going to have some expedited review processes. So we're going to have to see if this actually is a bullish look for some of these investments. But either way, keep an eye on some of these AI stocks with that in mind, guys.
There's some selling on Tesla.
Is there some selling on Tesla?
Yeah, solid.
Nice.
I mean, it looked like it was consolidating underneath that.
Oh, yeah.
Basically a failure to
heavy.
follow through of
Wow.
that 400 currently right now on Tesla. Take a look at this right here. So, yeah, a little bit of a continuation. Look at that hold, man. Look at that. Selling comes in right here.
Nice. Look there.
What time is that? So selling comes in right here at 10 o'clock, and then once again 10:27, and then once again at 11:06. And then once again at 11:30 right here. So some selling very distinctly occurring here underneath that 400 level, below VWAP as well. So is that a level hold at that 400? I have no idea, but Meta with a little bit of a pullback, continuation of yesterday's action as well. We saw that we tested that 425 area with a high of 426.43, pretty much weak all day long, and finally getting a bit of relief into the close. And look at that. Right off of the open today, we get a bit of a lick grab of this bid that we got yesterday, and then a straight selling coming right back into the ticker here on Tesla and giving us a low of 391, but currently holding below that 400, so it should be interesting here. NVIDIA, though, a little distinctly different. That's what I'm looking at here. So NVIDIA maybe potentially catching a little bit of a bid. We were trending sideways, so we're consolidating sideways here. The trend has been broken for the downside, but it could also have just have decelerated. That's what I'm kind of watching for here. If we get back to VWAP, then sure, that's great. 146s, but 140.44 lows. Interestingly enough, we're making a higher low off of that and maybe consolidating underneath that 143 currently as the market attempts to catch a little bit of a bounce. But like I said, we're consolidating. We're holding this 21.5 as of right now. So let's see what we do going forward on that. What's up, Adara?
We're going to do a sector watch here, but quickly, I want to say some of the things Donald Trump has said here, because there's a lot, and it could be pretty important here, because most of it is socioeconomic. He basically did say here that he wants to cut down on the spending. That's what we heard here already with the Department of Government Efficiency led by Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy. But either way, Donald Trump saying there's far too much spending, saying inflation is far too high. That's also a concern here. So keep an eye on the market and the US dollar with some of these statements being made here by Donald Trump, saying he really wants to cut back on spending and actually explicitly saying, drill, baby, drill, saying that he will be repealing, and he already said this yesterday on Truth, but he said he will be repealing Biden's attempt here with regards to banning drilling. He says he's going to basically be reversing that ban right when he gets in. So keep an eye on that. We're going to take a look there here at these sectors. Because we're pretty weak on the market, that we're trying to make a little bit of a bounce, I want to take a look at some of these names that are actually strongly up on the day, including Micron, MU, really rangy, but still up about 6% on the day, near the top of this range, when we actually had a lot of other tech names take a hit. It had a great day yesterday, so there was already some positive sentiment for this, but it also got this NVIDIA partnership. We already kind of knew about this partnership going back to February 2024. This is rumored, but now apparently their memory is actually being used in NVIDIA's Blackwell chip. So MU, certainly on watch. What about ENPH? This one's up about 5% here. Their IQ8 microinverters have been chosen for a major solar project here in Belgium. So keep an eye on ENPH. Last but not least, Cintas, CTAS, up about 3% right now, basically announcing that they have proposed to acquire a UniFirst. Also, Donald Trump talking, quote, right now about, quote, the Injustice Department. So keep an eye on some of these prison stocks. We know they ran a little bit last week with the confirmation of the Speaker of the House. So these prison stocks, including GEO, could be potentially on the move here, guys.
Dara, as always, for that. Much appreciated. So we got a question in the chat from Sir Mr. M. Thinking of taking NVDA cash secured put for March 21st. Would you please take a look? This option paying $11.50. Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. Everything right now is looking good. You have that $140 strike price. I mean, a cash secured put on NVDA, you're going to get the nod from me on that pretty much at any time. I think that's a fantastic idea. You collect $1,100 as well, too, on that if it does expire worthless. And if not, if you do end up getting assigned, then you're the proud owner of 100 shares of NVDA at $140, which I think is a pretty good price right now. Let's pull up the chart on NVDA here for you guys. If we can pull up my screen here real quick. Here is my Tesla trade as well here, folks. So again, holding on to some if we come to the break even. I didn't get any out at the peak here, but that's okay. But let's take a look at NVDA because Sir Mr. M is talking about a solid play. I mean, that's pretty close to at the money right now. This is a massive engulfing candle from the daily perspective. If you're looking to get assigned, then sure enough, that's a contract that I would be looking to acquire and for that position. But if you don't necessarily want to get assigned right away, then you can drop that strike price down. And let's see what the 130s are paying. I mean, the 130s are still paying 720 on that expire March 21st, so 73 days. That's still a good look. And then if you do get assigned at that, I don't know if NVDA is going to drop that low. I highly doubt that it will. But again, on the positive side of things, you collect $720 of premium if it does expire worthless. But again, 140, a little close to at the money. If your true intentions are getting assigned, then by all means, sell that 140 put. But I think you can drop that strike price a couple levels down, collect some premium, and then even potentially get a better price. Because with this engulfing candle on the session, I don't know how to really look at this because this is something that Obi and I were talking about. I was not expecting NVDA to have such a weak day. We have that gap up and we go for that all-time high push. I was looking for a continuation in strength. So what is this kind of saying to us? I don't know. Can there be was this a liquidity grab at the all-time high and then maybe we consolidate and chop around a little bit more? It's likely, but again, I think you can drop that strike price down a couple points, collect that high level of premium, and if you do get assigned, then you own NVDA at even a lower price, which is really good. And the street thinks growth in this company is still extremely strong, still relatively cheap from a PE standpoint as well too. So just keep that in mind. I think at any point, if you can buy any dip on NVDA, a lot of individuals and investors are looking to do so.
Yeah, I think so as well. I think a good example of maybe investor or long-term participant sentiment is today's price action, right? Coming into CES, coming into an anticipated week for a lot of these AI names in tech. We have someone like Jensen Huang speaking yesterday, and the event kind of starting, and it just seems to be like a classic sell the news event, doing about 2 ATRs to the downside.
Sell the news.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it's just like, all right, well, if you can recognize that early on, then yeah, you can definitely do well being on the right side of the move, observing that sentiment, looking for that confluence of that price action and that trend to the downside. And yeah, it's coming in quite nice as of right now. But we're still holding this 21.5 right now on the market. And I'm curious to know what are some of the tickers that are doing some of the most volume on the day. So let's go through some of those volume leaders. I know there's some interesting names on the docket this morning as well. I think Fubo for a continuation move. Hoth, I don't know what's happening here on Hoth, but it seems kind of pretty. It seems kind of chilly for the shorts there as it continues to push to the upside there. 380 current highs there. So I was watching this one in the pre-market, and I guess it did break out of those pre-market highs after reclaiming that VWAP as of right now, doing 1.7K relative volume. That's wild. What's up there? Oh.
Keep an eye on NVIDIA here. Actually, we do have Jensen Huang, CEO of the company, live on Bloomberg TV, finding a little bit of a base here. We also know we had some bullish comments from the CFO of the company saying that Blackwell demand is still really strong. So keep an eye here on NVDA. Nice higher highs and higher lows for this off of the low. I will try to listen to this interview as much as I can once Donald Trump finishes speaking here. So I'll keep an eye on any comments coming through for either of them, guys.
I'm like, yeah, I don't know.
I don't know. It is.
Yeah.
I mean,
so Jensen's talking right now, and finally we're getting a bit of a bounce on that NVIDIA here. So let's see if we can get to that view up. I don't think my blotter is updated, but like I said before, I'm just trading on the demo for today. I did get shut down trying to fight the trend on NVIDIA off of the open. It definitely was on the wrong side of the move, but let's see if this right side of the move is finally coming in here off of that 140 base, catching a little bit of a bid here. And I think if he's talking as well, Let's see how much more he can say and how much more this ticker can sell off. Again, 2 ATRs to the downside, almost over 2 ATRs. So let's go back to kind of looking at some of the volume leaders on the day here. Fubo, very, very strong yesterday on a day one catalyst deal with Disney. And today we're just consolidating in and on top of those highs. So Fubo potentially looking for that continuation, maybe coming in to later today or maybe even tomorrow if we can hold and sustain some of these levels as well. NVIDIA, obviously, we're watching as well. This is kind of what I'm watching here, a bit of a trend break to the downside. Lots of levels from before, but what I'm more focused on here is the VWAP and the anchored off of the open as well when we got that aggressive selling coming into NVIDIA. What's up, Adara?
Sure, guys, for the interruption. It's been a very heavy news day. Microsoft now on watch here as well. Satya Nadella, CEO of the company, is saying now on social media that they have received their first NVLink 72 clusters from NVIDIA, and they're live in Azure. So keep an eye on Microsoft now receiving some NVIDIA processors or clusters. So MSFT on watch here with AI. They're basically at low of days. They are also on the CES website. They're attending the company. So keep an eye on Microsoft. Still listening to Donald Trump. He's not talking about anything supermarket moving as of right now, guys.
For that, Adara. Let's talk a little bit about the encrypted one,
Yes.
Obi. What is going on here?
What is going on?
I mean,
we're just more consolidation of that.
Exactly. I think that's the case. But I mean, giving back all those gains from yesterday, a little bit of a tough look here on Bitcoin. I mean, we're still not too far off of these all-time highs here, folks. So let's see what we got from a percentage metric. We're still, about 10% or so. Totally justifiable. Again, not something that I was expecting, though, because now we're kind of getting this tweezer candle formation here on Bitcoin. Let's see if we can hold. I thought that we were going to break this $92,000 price target level here, the support, and head lower. So that's why I decided to get about. I sold a fraction of my IBIT position, thinking that okay, maybe I can get a better price. But we have now recovered. One thing I want to keep an eye out for here is, if we have the inability to make a new high and we continue to reject, Adara pointed this out not too long ago, that we are forming lower highs. If this is the case here, then I think eventually this could just be a liquidity grab and we head south. But let's talk a little bit more about some cryptocurrency and Bitcoin right after we get back from Adara.
I just want to talk about these EVs really quickly. Keep an eye on tickers like RIVN right now. Donald Trump just mentioned pretty casually here that he will be ending the EV mandate. So that confirmed now by Donald Trump, the EV mandate will be ended. Back to you.
EV mandate will be ended. Okay. So what does that insinuate? Like, okay, everything has to be electrical by said time. What was their target? Like 20 something? I think ridiculous, like 2035 or something.
Yeah,
like
I think Cali's going for something
along those
like
lines.
That,
yeah. Well, I mean, that's a tough look. You can't just
throw
all the internal combustion engines out.
Yeah, I'm sure it'll if it does roll out, it'll be like a hopefully it'll be like some sort of process-driven procedure, I guess. Process-driven procedure, nice. But yeah, no, I think that commercial vehicles still have a little bit of a ways to go when it comes to adapting the EV model. There, we see that again those Tesla trucks.
The semi trucks.
The semis look pretty promising there. But yeah, the infrastructure is definitely due for a revamp.
Right. I think that's the big issue, right? It's that you don't have. There's not nearly as many charging stations from an infrastructure standpoint. They would have to go full throttle and just start putting up charging stations pretty much on every corner that there was a gas station, right? Like you'd be converting every gas station essentially to a charging station. Yeah. Maybe, I don't know.
I mean, no, that could be a thing. Yeah. A lot of people talking about, hydrogen fuel cell vehicles as well, and I think plug power might be part of that as well. But there's certain technologies which definitely have more of a hurdle to overcome if they are going to become something main, and I think that kind of poises them for maybe not doing as well. But EVs I think are definitely the future. How long it'll take for us to get into a phase of full on EV EVs on the road to 100% point. I have no idea, but there's some countries that are getting there. I forget which one it was, but I think it was a 30 to 40% EV percentage.
Oh yeah,
something
really,
like that.
that's interesting.
I can look that
Oh,
up.
I think people in the chat were fact checking us. It was more or less the I think the rebate that you get, the tax credit. Okay, yeah. So there we go.
China, that's what it is. Right?
China has more. Yeah, I
with
mean,
almost half of the global
EV vehicles on the planet. Oh, okay, yeah, that's interesting. Yeah. So yeah, I guess no more tax credit there. So I guess that's not overly good for Tesla and the EV world. So I guess time will tell. We mentioned this time and time again with Elon working alongside Donald Trump, with Doge as well too. He's going to get what he needs to get done from a regulatory standpoint. So I'm bullish Tesla for the foreseeable future, especially during this term. The new admin is coming in, so yeah, looking forward to that. So what does GEVO do? Why did Congress buy it heavy? Havana Woody, that is a great question. GEVO. Are you familiar with this ticker?
Yeah, of course.
GEVO?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Never heard of this one.
It's a little bit of a repeat offender.
Is it?
But
Okay.
it kind of moves around every now and then.
Okay. All right. So let's see. Yeah. Let's take a look at GEVO. Okay, is a carbon abdomen company focused on transforming renewable energy into energy-dense liquid hydrocarbons that can be used to renewable fuels. Okay, interesting. So yeah, this thing is, let's see what it's up from these December levels. From the high, yeah, up 92%, but now pulling back to about 55%. Looking really nice from a daily perspective. This pullback, I wouldn't call it deep or anything along those lines, but that volume is supporting. You know, I'm going to always look at the volume by time profile, see what we got going on, to see if that breakout can be genuine or it might just be a liquidity grab and we head back into the range. But sure enough, here we're trading half decently, even though we do have 2 red days. But again, the move that it has been on up over 100%. So that is GEVO. Not something that I particularly trade. I think Sharif has definitely traded it multiple times. So again, putting in a red day like the overall market. So let's take a look at the top performing sectors, guys, as we usually do. And Adara goes over sector watch as well too. But we have XLE sitting at the top of its class once again. So a little defensive here in the markets, up about 1.4% on the session. And holding view up really nice, and then significant trading higher, but a double top here, folks, and now pulling back. So let's see if we can go and test those highs of day once again. Only time will tell on that front. But then we have XLB as well, sitting in second place, just about over 0.9% there. Chopping around, not the most liquid or an intraday trader, but it's just good to see from a market perspective where we're sitting and what the top performing sectors are. And this is XLB, the materials sector, up 0.9. And then we have healthcare sitting in third place, folks. XLV sitting in third place, up about 0.7%. Nice gap up. This is where the most of the strength came in here, was in the pre-market hours trading session. We gap up, really strong opening drives, pull back through VWAP, and now trading under the volume weighted average price. So let's see if we can punch through VWAP here on XLB and then continue to the northeast. But again, not the most popular intraday trader, but that's just to go over the overall sectors there from a performance standpoint. And then let's see what we got from the bottom. So consumer discretionary, extremely weak as well too, folks. Technology, consumer discretionary down about 1.3%, and then we have the tech sector down about 1% as well too, and then the communications XLC sitting in third last there, only down about 0.6 or 0.6% there. Obi, what do you got going on?
Yeah, nothing much. I was just kind of reflecting on what you said about Tesla. Yeah, long and strong on Tesla. But I think something I like to remind people about Tesla is that they're not just an EV company. Yeah. Right? That's not what their mission necessarily is. And then you just do a quick search of what the mission statement for Tesla is. And it's basically right here. This is a perfect kind of AI summary right here. Accelerating the world's transition to sustainable energy. So that's their main focus, right? So you know they've been working on batteries. Their battery technology could definitely be revolutionary if they figure that out. Batteries like energy storage, and then they also are involved with solar panels and energy, different methods of energy generation. So I think that EVs is one of the tools that they're using to achieve that mission, but there is definitely a much bigger picture kind of mission going on there with Tesla. So I don't think that Tesla is just an EV company to say the least. So that's definitely something that should be kept in mind. And you can see what it's been doing over the past few years. You can see it's just in a perpetual stair-step squeeze, and a lot of doubters and a lot of doubters along the way. But it seems like they kind of know what they're doing. They're pretty good at what they do as well. Kind of leading technology when it comes to EVs, and we got we got light, not really LiDAR, but like navigation using cameras and things like that. Still a lot of kinks to iron out, but definitely one of the leaders.
One thing I will say about that though, Obi, is like, okay, so we're talking about LiDAR. So Waymo uses LiDAR. So Google's Waymo uses LiDAR. They have vehicles on the ground already. Tesla doesn't have any robo taxis on the ground yet. No one's used them. So again, a lot of kinks to iron out, and I'm curious to see how they do kind of in dense populated areas.
Yeah, here's the thing, that new full self-drive, I was kind of watching a few videos and reading some tweets from people who have kind of tested it out and confirmed it. I think it's doing pretty well. The new version in the city, through construction, dealing with crazy drivers, wild lane changes.
Waymo, if you're referring to?
No. I'm talking about the new Tesla full self-drive, right? And it's like, all right, if the full self-drive can start doing really well, then the robo-taxi isn't very far away. I don't think so. And it's just like, all right, well, then you might just have to overcome some hurdles like regulations and just permissions to get vehicles, get rubber on the road, to say. But Tesla's going to be a good look. But currently, it is selling off. The market's looking like it wants some fresh lows here. So Tesla's pulling back off of that 400. We talked about that 400 being a little bit of a level hold. We're trading currently at 394. So, oh boy, did that level hold and hold as a resistance. Kind of a held offer there at that 400 level, and we're trading a little bit lower here. Day lows on Tesla, just shy of that 190, just above 191s right there, and we're coming right back into some of those levels. So the question becomes, are we going to test some of those lows? The market is definitely looking for that test here as the ES pushes back down, and the NASDAQ as well. And I remember Kyle Burdett in the chat was talking about, we kind of tried to push past that 6,000 mark on the ES, couldn't quite make it, started making lower highs, and guess what? We're revisiting some of these lows there. So good look on that, Kyle Burdett, with the market pulling back a little bit as well. So I'm not really seeing anything too crazy. I see that Nvidia is holding up relatively well, I guess. But the thing is, it's already done a lot of its selling in the morning session. I'm curious to know whether it's going to have more, and if we can push through this 140 level here on Nvidia. But yeah, it's been quite the run there for the past few days, and finally breaking that trend with a failure to follow through of all-time highs. So yeah, that's definitely a catalyst in itself on the day here. But holding relatively well in and around this 142 area is what I'm seeing. And Google was the one that I was watching off of open, and let's see what that ticker is up to. Oh boy, look at that! Wow, Google doing almost 2 times relative volume on the day. Kind of expanding that relative volume going into the midday session as well. You can see that we got that drive. So yesterday's highs, a bit of a double top, was in and around that 198 level. 198.21 was the high, with a little bit of a test there. You can see this consolidation during the midday session as well. And take a look at what we did off of the open there. A bit of a shake and bake. False breaks that high, so okay, gives you a signal to potentially get short, but it holds VWAP and then re-breaks current day's high through that 198 halves for the push into and through 200. 201 flat is the high a day right there, and then you get that beautiful reversion back down to the downside here. 195.95 is trading right now, printing some fresh lows. Where are these lows from prior days? What I'm asking, 195.40s, 195.18s as well on those prior day consolidation or pullback lows, if you want to call them. We're coming into some of those levels once again. So the question becomes, will we be able to catch a bid? This market is not looking any like it has any sort of a bid right now, as we attempt to push some fresh lows there. So let's see what you guys are trading in the chat. Let us know what you guys are trading, and so we can take a quick look over those there. Seeing that, okay, 5 years ago, nice, yeah, hundreds of millions, yeah, exactly. So Racer X9 saying was I think you're talking about Tesla here, saying that was doing pretty well 5 years ago. Now they have hundreds of millions of miles worth of information.
Yeah,
so that's
exactly.
another thing.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
with AI and kind of a lot of these like self-learning tools kind of coming out, I think there's only upside for some of these technologies going forward. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we're in an AI super cycle. It's, a lot of people are calling it revolutionary, and I agree on that front. It's definitely a new tool. Especially, I don't know how much you use Copilot or GPT or anything along those lines?
Yeah, like in terms of like AI tools, I use GPT.
Nice.
I've been told Perplexity is pretty good, I haven't really dabbled in that, but ChatGPT I do have. And yeah, no, I think it's a great tool, kind of revolutionary. Of course, I don't think I'm kind of leveraging it as well as I can be, as well as I could, but it definitely has a lot of potential for kind of saving a lot of time and really fast tracking a lot of how do you say, like repetitive and kind of mundane actions where it's just like a lot of research you can see is being taken over, right? It's like, all right, well, you know, if I had this tool in school, I'd definitely be a lot more effective and efficient. Now, of course, like any tool, it can be misused, and we hear about stories of that happening in the education system as well. But you know what? It is what it is. I think it's a very powerful tool for those who can and are willing to use it in effective ways.
Yeah.
So for sure.
No, I agree. Someone mentioned it the other day. I was Sharif or somebody was like, you see all the graduates now being like, thanks ChatGPT when they're graduating. And So it's like awesome. Essentially, they just did all that work. So new to us. But again, kids that are growing up with it, I think we're in the early stages of this AI revolution, as some would like to call it, extremely early stages. So yeah, I'm looking forward to the coming years and seeing how far this can be taken. I mean, we got the humanoid robots coming out as well too. Once those things get those LLMs implemented on them, if they're not already, it's definitely Sharif's wheelhouse. But we'll see. I think it's going to be an interesting time. All right, guys. So yeah, let's take a look here at TSLL. This is what we were trading earlier. Now pulling back to those lows of days, as the overall market is as well too. So the weakness in the market is continuing. The VIX isn't spiking. I guess that the early hours in the session is where all that volatility came in, that aggressive selling, spiking the VIX as well. So now just kind of cooling off as the market continues to chop around in these levels. Let's see if we can go and test the low a day here on the Qs. It's looking like that's about to come in play here shortly, Obi, as we continue to move to the southeast here. I wonder if we can hold this 517 level on the Qs as support. If we break these key pivot levels and this key support level, it's going to look like there's going to be some more downside on that front. So let's see. Only time will tell. I think if we break these levels, then 516 is the next target on the session. Down about 1.4% already is the Qs on the day. So let's see what's going on with that. But as of right now, guys, we have happening now with Adara, and then we send it off to Neil for his lesson of the day.
This whole session has been super, super exciting here. Lots of moves. We had this big drop around 10 a.m. and we got higher than expected JOLTS jobs openings. They also upwardly revised the previous month's print as well. So JOLTS job openings viewed as a little bit bearish for this market, down about 1%. We tried to recover, and then we've just drifted back to the downside for the NASDAQ, down about 1.3%, and the S&P 500 down about 0.7%. Both are near day's lows as of right now. One of the biggest events that's been on watch for the market over the last hour or so, I think he only really hit the podium around half an hour ago, Donald Trump and his press conference there in Mar-a-Lago. Amongst other things, he announced $20 billion in investments from DeMac Industries to build new data centers in the U.S. as part of that, I guess, focus on U.S. investments. Other market-related things that were said included basically saying that Canada and Mexico will be especially heightened for tariffs in terms of things he's watching. And he also mentioned that the EV tax credit will be revoked. So in terms of market-related things, keep an eye on EV and maybe some Canadian names. Shop was pretty weak here. NVIDIA also on watch because Jensen Huang currently speaking here with Bloomberg. So definitely keep an eye on NVDA. We know they had a great night yesterday at CES with Jensen Huang's keynote speech, that is their CEO. Their CFO also made some positive comments here earlier today, basically saying that there has been really strong demand for Blackwell. So NVDA on watch. Keep an eye as well on Tesla with regards to Trump sympathy plays. But either way, if you're looking for something to trade today, you'll definitely find it. Make sure you vote in our rundown. You'll have 2 opportunities to vote for your favorite ticker between the polls. One will be at 11 a.m., the other one will be at 1 p.m. And at 12 p.m., we have our Playmaker poll. So vote if you think that you should go long or short the SPY. And Joe and Obi will take that trade as a group. But for now, make sure to like, subscribe, and tune in to Neil for his always informative lesson of the day. So without further ado, take it away, Neil.
Thank you very much, Adara. The 5-second rule. That's a good one. Always answer the phone when your mother calls. That's another pretty good one. Always hit the like and subscribe when you're watching Trader TV Live. That's another great one. What am I talking about? I'm talking about rules. Sometimes it's good to have some rules out there in a general sense when you're trading. And I'm not always talking about discipline rules. I'm talking about maybe trend rules or setup rules that you can follow that don't necessarily happen every single day, but that can guide your trading opportunities. And there's one that you'll hear often, the 3-day rule. I've heard that as long as I've been trading, and usually it refers to after, say, earnings or a big event, allow the stock to settle down for a few days before you make any kind of long-term bet. But there's another aspect of the 3-day rule that I think we should be paying attention to. And NVIDIA is going to be the reason for this, but I'm going to point it out here on MSTR as well. Anytime you have a strong trend for 2 days in a row, that 3rd day can be a very key and key turning point. And there's a few things you want to look out for so you don't get trapped. And obviously, we'll get to NVIDIA in a second. But here's the gist of what I'm getting at. When you have a clear change or a clear break or a clear different type of trend for a couple of days in a row, it could be after earnings, it could be a breakout on news. We'll look for it in small caps. On MSTR, I don't think it's rocket science. It was trending down. You had a parabolic day on the 3rd, on Friday, and then you had a parabolic day to start the week again. So on that 3rd day, it is certainly key. First thing you got to look out for, and hindsight's always going to be 20/20, but that's why the lesson of the day, we trade live for every single day, but lesson of the day has got to be something that we learned or got reinforced on the day, and this one was it in spades. So you have what is the obvious trend down reversal top here at about $370 on MSTR. You busted through at the end of the day to break it out. But on day 3, after a 2-day rally, we open up and immediately fail that prior resistance. Now, whether or not if you're swing trading out of it, that's one thing. If you're just saying, hey, it's an uptrend, maybe I don't want to buy that dip when it fails in here, that's another way to avoid. But it's also an opportunity for a tight stop short if you look for that 3rd day. This one, it's not threatening the highs, so you're really just looking at this resistance into this prior level at 372. Does it give you something off of the open? Well, it immediately tries to break pre-market highs under 372, breaks down under 370 for MSTR. It's a $300 stock. If you're not willing to risk a couple of dollars in MSTR, then you're probably not willing to trade it in the first place. So it does give you that setup. But the other side of it is when when not to chase obvious trend up. So NVIDIA, now I'm going to call it the 3-day rule because much like MSTR, yeah, it's up for a 4th day, but if we really look at the type of moves that it was putting in, this is more of the consolidative day, just holding the low and getting back into the high. The breakout was on Friday, right? There's your breakout day outside of the range, your continuation day yesterday for a day 2, and then a different type of fail. Now, I can look back at this and say, usually on a trend continuation, I don't really mind where I was playing it on a pure trend continuation. I'm going to play off of prior highs. Okay, check. That's usually a normal strategy. I'm going to play off of prior close. Look where I'm trying to get long. When it loses it, I'm out. Be disciplined. There. Play for the bounce. First targets are going to be at that resistance. Going to get out when it breaks down. Pre-discipline. When it holds again, makes this low, I try the longs again, get a little bit of a scalp trade, and then it stops out. And then when it continues lower, I don't try the long again until it goes to that low and bounces there. Then we go for the long. Then we wait for it to get to 140. So I'm doing all of the discipline-y things right in terms of only trading it at the key price levels on the way down. And that's how ultimately you sort of save your day. You don't have a day ruiner. I'm flat on the day because my best winner was slightly better than the best loser. Obviously, if I had actually hung on to the Tesla short, I'd actually be up today. But, you know, it's pretty much a flat day for me. It's not up much. It's not down much. It's very, very slightly down because I was disciplined. But that's not good enough because the 3-day rule, when you have 1 up day, 2 big up day, when it fails the high, that's a pretty strong reversion setup. And on top of that, NVIDIA, just to add a little confluence to it, it was also an all-time high fail. So you had an all-time high fail, you had a day 3 fail the top, and then breaking down the consolidation. There are times when, you know, you look at MSTR, what that set up for on that day 3, where yes, the long is fantastic and has been good for a couple of days in a row. But the risk to reward is sort of favoring taking the shot at that short. You break this short down, I mean, you look, first support, second support, you're stopping at the high. If NVIDIA is going to go, you can always take a breakout trade. You know, those have been absolutely fine. If it's going to run the bottom and break out the top, that's fine. I never have any trouble reversing into a long on NVIDIA, but when it loses it on that 3rd day, sometimes it's either at least get away from the long or try to join some shorts. And whether it's this, whether it's MSTR, I can pull up any of them. The distinct thing that you want to look for here is big reversive trend, completely different behavior. There's your day 1 move. It's got to be distinct. Not just that it was up. It's got to be a big day, a very different day from what was happening before. Then a continuation day that is big. Then you want to look for that 3rd day type of reversion. So it's always good to have some rules out there. I love the 3-day rule in a general sense for long-term investments. I like the 3-day rule when it maybe tempers your expectations for how big a move could be, or maybe when you don't want to get trapped on that 3rd day of momentum if you lose major support. So that's your lesson of the day. And just one more thing before I get out of here, because I've been talking about this in the chat. Fubo, which I'm not in Fubo anymore. We had been going long Fubo off of VWAP. It did make a fresh high, but it's trying to break the trend line since the fail of the high. It did close above. Like to see it hold support or break VWAP. Either one of those 2 things happen, I'm going back into the Fubo long. It's a nice stair step, 13% up. It is my best stock of the day, although I would grant you, I know that Hoth was a better long, but this is the one that worked for me. So that's your lesson of the day, the 3-day rule, but using it for momentum trading and avoiding the rinse on that 3rd day.
Well, thank you very much, Neil. Yeah, no, I mean, I didn't even notice that today was the day 3. And I'm just like, I'm kicking myself now. I'm just like, oh my God, like that. Today was that day 3 gap up, and you fail to follow through all-time highs, and then you break the trend, and then you also have sell the news event. Oh boy. I mean, expensive lesson to learn, but definitely one I will not forget. So yeah, we talk about being aware of those multiple time frames, and yeah, I'm not even looking at the daily chart there. I'm just like, oh, all-time highs. Let's look for a follow-through. Boom, let's go. Yeah, no, it is continuing to kind of sell off there. So let's see if we can get to those 140s right now. Tesla as well, kind of continuing to sell off there. Market's about to make some fresh lows here on the ES and the Nasdaq as well. So let's see where we're poised to go. I have no idea, but it seems like more to the downside as well. And don't forget, Trump is. I'm pretty sure Trump is still talking there. So that could also be that could also be worth keeping an eye on as well. So let's see if any of these tickers catch a little bit of a bid. But the question becomes, what are you guys trading? I'm curious to know. Yesterday we were talking about Uber. And Uber. I pointed out this trend on Uber yesterday, and I was like, oh boy, let's see if we hold any of these levels. And I remember, if you guys remember, I kind of drew out this line. I'm like, all right, for three days, we've been holding quite well. Do we finally pull back in? So this is where we were watching it, and around the midday session, I was like, all right, if we pull back in, are we going to hold some of these levels? And oh boy, look at that. Coming in off of the open today, we break that, and we're coming right back into prior days kind of consolidation areas there as well. So not only failing pre-market lows, failing that VWAP as well, failing to follow through pre-market highs as well on Uber. So a little bit of a pullback here on Uber now, day 2 of the move, right? Yesterday we had a little bit of a catalyst that sent it accelerating in the pre-market, gave back a good chunk of it going into the end of the day. But coming into today, we had that bit of a continuation, but a failure to follow through of those highs, now coming back in to a break of trend, a trend that lasted about a few days, right? So let's see what Uber will have in store for us there. But I remember I was kind of looking at some of these tickers that were running in the pre-market. IMRX was definitely one of them. And look at this one, pretty much giving back everything that it gained in the pre-market session. So absolutely beautiful, man. Some of these small caps, the reversions that they give are absolutely beautiful. INVZ, actually an interesting one. They actually had a catalyst associated with NVIDIA, but take a look at NVIDIA. NVIDIA is not even bidding today, and look at the failure to follow through on INVZ today with a wick of that $3 area right off of the open there. So this is a 15-minute chart. We can take a look at it on a 3-minute chart. You can see a bit of a failure to follow through, back through these pre-market highs. Holds VWAP, can't really hold VWAP, holds VWAP as a resistance in and around that 2.5 level, and then gives us another leg to the downside here. And we're continuing to sell off of that VWAP currently with a day low at 226. So yeah, large cap association trade was on the docket in the pre-market, but with NVIDIA and the rest of the market pulling back down, and the main ticker that it's associated with is NVIDIA, so that's why I mention it. Not really looking too good as of right now in terms of that continuation to the upside on INVZ. Lucid, a little bit of a pullback as well. ARBE, I know a lot of people are trading these robotics names, which reminds me we should probably also take a look at RR. That one was running over the past few days as well. Rich Tech Robotics. Let's see what that one is up to here on a bit of a day two move. You can see the ridiculous amount of relative volume that it was doing yesterday in the pre-market session, and we basically failed to follow through of that $5 level off of the open. Today we're doing a little bit more of the same that we did pretty much for the mid to later half of the day yesterday, which is pretty much consolidate sideways in between this $4 and $4.50 level here on RR. So RGTI, another one that's been running. Rigetti, can't forget about this one, and it's still continuing to hold beautifully, actually, continuing to hold above its prior, some of its anchors, holding well within its trend here as well. So Rigetti, very, very strong, which also begs me to question, how is IONQ up to? Kind of that people are calling this one of the leaders in the quantum, for some of the quantum names here, and still looking very similar to that of Rigetti, still well within its trend here. Yeah, we get that chop and that aggressiveness, but bigger picture, a bit of a trend happening here on IONQ as well. Plug Power, this one was running yesterday, very strong over the past couple of days here. Again, doing relative volume from the beginning of the month there, but finally catching a little bit of a relief here. But if you take a look at it, we're still kind of within trend. We've decelerated. We've broken out. We've broken below, but it's right off of the open. But let's see if we get that follow through, that continuation. Pre-market lows currently sitting at 301s. So pretty clean on top of threes on plug power. MSAI, another runner this morning, pretty much gave it all up in the pre-market. This failure to follow through a 5 was absolutely beautiful as well. It happened quite early. You had to be here in and around, I think that was 7, 6:45, 6:30 we made those highs, and then we failed in the next 15 minutes there for a continuation all the way off into the open on that one there. So let's see. I'm curious to know, what are you guys trading? I know that Palantir also gave some great opportunities here on the day as well. Continuation. If you're looking for a continuation, oh boy, we talked about that 80 failure to follow through yesterday being absolutely textbook on Palantir. And that textbook gives us some more textbook continuation on the day today as we break. Look at this confluence, man. Absolutely beautiful confluence. Pre-market low is pretty much near that prior day low. 74, what was it? Well, let's get precise. 74.61 is prior day's low. Pre-market low came in at 74.50. So about a 15 penny difference there. And look at that crack right off of the open there. Continuation does not want 75. Bye-bye, all the way to the downside. 5 points to the downside off of some of those highs there on Palantir with a low at 70.31, currently trading at 71.16. So absolutely beautiful continuation after a textbook reversion that happened off of a prior day failure to follow through of these consolidation highs at $80 on Palantir. So Getty was another one. These guys had, I think it was a 2.5 billion buyback acquisition kind of news there. Let's take a quick look. 3.7 billion cash stock deals with Shutterstock and Getty Images. So I think it's STTK or SK. I'll just type it out. SSTK. So SSTK is the ticker for Shutterstock, and you can see that one's looking kind of similar there, pulling back off of its pre-market highs off of that catalyst as well. So a lot of faders there today on the market along with this strong tailwind. So I'm curious to know whether you guys are short or long mainly on the day today. Let's see. Roger in the chat saying, I've just been holding a Siri $23 call since the last week. Okay, we'll take a look at Siri as well, Sirius XM. Okay, nice. That's been trending to the upside since about the beginning of the month there. You can see Thursday, Friday last week. Catching a little bit of a bid on Friday, breaking out of this little trend that we've been holding to the downside. You can see that boom, 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 boom. Breakout happening yesterday on Monday, and then we're getting a little bit of continuation here on a higher time frame for that Siri. See what else Zenod saying. I did see some plug power equipment on a truck yesterday. I don't know. That might be might be a sign. You never know. M-Sense saying him and Charlie Taff are trading Tesla TSLA, and that's it. Going to give us some gains. Yeah, no, I mean, like Tesla. I got Tesla on watch, man. Tesla's consolidating near its low of day. You can see that, yeah, after we get rid of, again, I think it was Kyle Burdett again yesterday saying that he's short Tesla off of this anchored here, this dark, this bold anchor that I have in. I think it's from that FOMC sell-off. Yes, so since December 18th, FOMC just pinned to that, anchored to that. We came into that level quite cleanly and sold off for majority of the day today, and you can see a bit of a lick grab of these of that bid that came in into the after hours at the end of the day there, and we kind of failed that aggressively for a strong continuation to the downside here on Tesla as well, consolidating near its lows with a current day low at 391.20. So don't know what this one's going to do here, but a lot of consolidations near the lows on the day. Nvidia is doing something similar as well, so nothing too crazy. Yeah, Kyle Burdett saying yes, sir. Are you? I'm curious, Kyle. Are you swinging that Tesla position? Like that anchored was pretty significant, and we're getting that continuation today. So what are your targets? We did kind of bounce off of 370, which was pretty nice. That was kind of an interesting level to kind of hold and catch a bit of a bounce off of. Don't forget, we're coming in from those what were those highs? 480s
on Tesla.
On Tesla,
something along like 460. That. I think it was just under 460 or something along those lines. Yeah,
469.76 I have here. Actually, no, 488.50s
was it?
Are all-time highs right there on Tesla, and that was also the day that we
48.50.
that we had that. That was December 18th. So the FOMC day, So we got that strong selling coming in off of a failure to follow through of all-time highs, and then you crack trend and break a little bit lower. So absolutely beautiful there.
Yep, good stuff.
Kyle saying he's swinging it with 430 puts expiring soon. Nice.
430 puts expiring soon. All right, yeah, lock in some of those gains there, Kyle, before time value diminishes the majority of the value of those contracts. The Playmaker poll is now up, guys. Good look there on the rundown. Lots of votes on the rundown, so let's see if we can mirror that here in the Playmaker poll. So looking forward to doing that, and then we'll get the second half of the rundown tickers up for you guys there. Let's see what's going on with TQs here, Obi. I'm taking a stab at a long here. Potential double bottom on that front. Let's see if we can hold these key support levels around 81.5 here on the TQs and take somewhat of a bounce. The target is the volume weighted average price as usual. So let's see if we can get that going. If we break the lows, 81.5s, I'm at a dodge. We can reassess the situation and potentially get back in the trade if it shows up. But as of right now, we're looking pretty good, Obi. You're not heading too much lower. I mean, NVDA is starting to consolidate in this tight range. Price is starting to compress. We did have aggressive selling for the first hour and a half of the day, so maybe that's cooled off. Maybe we get that cover rally, and then we can squeeze a little bit into the volume-weighted average price with some of these tech-heavy stocks and the overall market. So good look on that front. Let's continue to monitor those. Obi went over some of the top-performing stocks on the session as well, too. So sitting at the top of its class, as usual, is NVDA with 226 million shares traded yesterday. I forget which ticker it was. Greg, here, I'll pull it up right now, actually. My buddy showed me that something had like 680-something million shares traded yesterday. Let's see what that, Fubo, yeah, Fubo was it something, like an insane amount of volume on Fubo. 600 plus million shares, and we were watching it in the after hours. I'm like, man, this thing is still trading higher. So putting in almost 1 billion shares traded, that's insane for that float as well too. So interesting stuff. Obi, now we're starting, that selling pressure is starting to kick back in. The VIX still hovering around that $17 price target. I mean, this is looking like not a day for the longs because this is not working out right now. If we break 81.50, as I mentioned before, definitive out, this will help you not get out of your trades prematurely, as one of the questions asked before. So if we break that to the downside, we're at a dodge, not going to be looking to participate in that long anymore. We'll have to reassess the situation and the overall sentiment of the market as NVDA is dragging a lot of these heavy, these big names down with it. So just keep that in mind. Let's see what we got going on, guys. Continue to let us know what you're looking at in the chat, and we'll be sure to go over them. There's a good options question that we went over earlier as well too, just about those cash secured puts. So you're looking, it's almost close to you getting a sign. I mean, you're only $1.42 away, a gap down in the pre-market, and then you get that open in the pre-market tomorrow, and then you get that open below that 140. The chances of assignment are there. You may not get assigned on those shares. Because, I mean, it is still a while away from expiration, so you won't get early assignment on that. But if they start to hover below that, I would look to close that, right? So if you get too much below, I want to point this out as well too. If you get too much below that strike price, it's almost better for you to just close that short put and then reassess the situation and look to sell another put lower. Because if it goes south of 140 and ends up to 135, you now have to own those shares. You're obligated to those shares at 140. But NVDA is trading at 135, so it's like, okay, well, I don't want these shares at 140. I would rather have them at 135. So just make sure you have those risk measures in place and that game plan in place as well too, because if you can get a better price, there's no point in holding on to a position when that chance is standing up. But someone in the chat is talking about Jaspreet. As usual, XTIA. Take a look at them. Aerospace, interesting. Wow. Okay, so you're really into these penny stocks. This is 20 cents here, up over 100% at one point on the session here. OB. Let's see what these guys do. XTAI. Okay, no, XTAI. Okay, no, we can't get that. Oh, IA. Sorry, apologize for that. Anyways, see you later. We'll do this one more time. XTIA. Okay, so yeah, aerospace tech, $30 million market cap. Is an aircraft development company. The company is the parent company, XTI, aircraft company, and aviation business engaged in developing the Trifan 600, a fixed-wing business aircraft. Okay, so not overly familiar with this, but selling aggressively here on the session. Let's zoom in here to the lower time frames. Now making new lows a day here on XTIA. Not something in my wheelhouse. I don't know how you feel about trading these penny stocks, Obi, but not something that I'm particularly familiar with. They get really volatile, and the halts are something to be weary of. But I got to punch out of this TQ's trade here, guys. We broke that 8150 level, so I got to get out of Dodge and reassess the situation. Because I mean, with NVDA hovering around these lows and some of these big names continuing to move south, it's really hard to find the bounce in these overall markets.
Yeah, no, I think those penny stocks are great for those who know how to trade them. I think there's definitely some edge there, and that's part of a big thing that I learned this past year, especially if you're trading at a prop firm. You could definitely find and create some edge in and around some of those names, especially with the kind of order access and the speed at which that you have the potential to operate on. And it's also I guess technically it's also less competitive than some of these large caps as well. In certain scenarios, but yeah, no, there's definitely trades there to be had, and yeah, I wouldn't dismiss it just because it's a penny stock. This is something that this is a big thing that I learned this year. And initially, when I first started trading, I was just like, yeah, I understand that people make money off of penny stocks, but I just said that, oh, that's not for me. I don't really understand. But the fact of the matter is that I've seen it being done. And I've kind of looked into it as well. There definitely is some edge on those tickers, especially when specifically when they are in play, right? Yep. And when you can see a little bit of offside. So I think a good example is like, all right, well, some of them might be squeezing. You can see someone's getting blasted. Someone has to get out. They're getting liquidated, and then you can kind of use that information as a bit of edge to kind of make some decisions.
I agree with you. I think it's a popular kind of sector. Like a lot of people trade the small caps, and I think that a lot of people short them too. I know there's a lot of popularity in shorting those. Yeah, exactly, both ways, because they get squeezy as well too, right? Yeah. So
yeah. They get just as dumpy as well.
Yeah, exactly. So
let's see what's up with Adara.
Just be aware here, DJT on watch. Donald Trump says he will take, quote, a couple more questions. Not a lot of what he has said here has been super market related or market moving, but just be aware, DJT on watch as Donald Trump takes currently one or two more questions. We aren't exactly sure how many that will be, but I will let you know if and when this ends. Back to you.
Thank you very much, Dara. Yeah, no, I'm kind of Ramin a couple minutes ago. She was like, "Oh, Trump's saying some things about Canada," and I was like, "Oh yeah, Trump's on." So I did put him on. Is kind of some funny stuff, some interesting stuff as well. But yeah, I'm watching that as well.
What did he say?
But he's when I chimed in, he was just like, "Oh, something about Milko. We don't need their milk." And stuff like dairy, and I guess
being the ultimate troll.
Well, I don't know about that, but maybe he's making valid points, maybe he isn't. I have no idea, but I kind of just chimed in. He's almost done there, and yeah, let's see what we have in store here. Market catching a little bit of a bid here as well, back again off of that 21.4 level there. So we didn't quite break the lows there on the Nasdaq just yet. But I think we did clip them on the ES. So ES, again, looking a little bit different than the NASDAQ, with some of these names catching a little bit of a continuation to the downside. So is the NASDAQ just lagging behind a little bit? I have no idea. Let's take a quick look at Apple. I know that I had a decent trade on Apple yesterday. Oh, boy, would you look at that. Absolutely beautiful. Oh, my God. All right. So yesterday, it's a beautiful reversion that happened here. off of that 246, 247 failure to follow through. And yeah, it took it all the way back down to 244s and some change. Coming in today, take a look at this. We consolidate yesterday for over 3 hours, almost 3 hours, in a range from 245s to 244 half. So pretty tight for Apple, right? Based off of, especially with relative to what it did in the morning session there, very rangy and trendy both to the upside and back to the downside, and then it gets locked in about a 50 penny consolidation. Look at what we do coming in today. We basically grab that consolidation. 45.54 is the high, kind of crack back in below that, below an anchored, below some prior days levels as well, and then you get that continuation to the downside, not only breaking the day low, but pretty much coming into some of these pre-market consolidation lows as well. So interesting move there, bit of a continuation on that Apple move off of yesterday's selling. So we saw some similar things happening on a few names there as well, kind of Tesla being one of them, Palantir as well. Now Apple I'm observing as well. So let's see what Softy's been up to. Wow, look at that. So a lot of continuation on multiple different names. And you can, if you remember yesterday on the NASDAQ, that 21.8 was a little bit of a struggle, and then we pushed lower after trying to consolidate and trying to bounce. It's more of like a leg consolidation underneath 21.8s and then another leg down. And guess what? We come in today and that 21.8 shows up once again with sellers being in charge pretty much or very aggressively as it pushes all the way down for a 400-point drop all the way down to 21.4s from a high of 21.8s there. So something to keep an eye on. But let's see what's going on with the Darren.
Keep an eye on Meta. Donald Trump just saying that Meta or Facebook, quote, has come a long way. So META actually popping up a bit on this, a little bit of a volume spike as well in the 3-minute chart. META, again, having come a long way, according to President-elect Donald Trump. Again, he said he's answering a few more questions, but he's already answered a few more questions since he said that. So we're unsure. It looks like the conference probably about to wrap up, though. Back to you.
Hey, thank you for that. As always, Adara. So guys, let us know. Let us continue to tell us what you guys are looking at here in the chat. We have the Playmaker poll up. Only about 500 votes so far. We got to get that number up drastically. We need to double that number there, guys. So make sure you get those votes in as I see them start flowing in. You don't want to miss that one because then we have the second half of the rundown as well too. So good luck there. 58% to the long side thus far, guys. Continue to get those votes in, and let's document some more trades because that is the objective of it. So we went over time and time again, and I was going to actually ask you this, Obi. I was thinking about it yesterday. Just from a journaling perspective, we know that you're very thorough in your journaling. If you could only collect one data point, what would it be? That's a tough one, no?
What, in the journal?
Yeah. Only one data point, whether it be, I guess, a sector, the time that you entered, catalyst, no catalyst. What would the one data point? What would you say is the most significant data point that you collect, and how
Sure, I put this in my journal often. I guess the data point would be, did I follow the plan? Okay. Yes or no?
Okay. Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Yeah.
I think that would be the data.
There you go.
If there was one that I could choose to just track over time, is like, did I follow the plan, right? And it's like that comes with, did you have a plan in the first place, right? Did you have a plan in the first place? And if so, was it followed? And if not, why? But I think that definitely would be a data point that I would like to follow, especially when journaling and just seeing how consistent I am with following the plan. And I think everything else can kind of branch out from there. Whether you want it to be nuances, whether you want to be specific times of day, or whether you want to be specific prices or specific patterns, that's all, I think, secondary. I think the primary thing is, did you follow the plan? And obviously the plan, that's a little deep, right? Because your plan has to have your entries, exits, what you want to see, how you want to trade it, and what your risk limit is, and everything, all of that, that whole thing. And then, did you follow all of that?
I think I wasn't expecting that answer, to be honest with you. That's a fantastic answer. Did you follow the plan? And I think that's something that needs to be documented as well too. Because if the answer is no, then and the trade works out, that's not something, a habit that you would necessarily want to continue with, right? But there's people chiming in. There's people chiming in the chat as well too. So Obi has, if you followed your plan or not, as that one key data point that if you can only track one, that would be the one. Guys, let us know in the chat what that would be for you as well too, because I see people putting in their volume, profit and loss. Let's see what else we got here. Dented price as well too. For me, I like that answer. I wasn't expecting it, as I mentioned it before. For me, I think it would be time in and time out. Does that count as two or just one?
Like hold time?
No, just like time in, like time I entered the trade to the time I got out. That would be one of my, I think if I could collect one piece of data, I think it would be time in and time out. So I guess time in most importantly, all right? So yeah, guys, continue to let us know in the chat what your favorite or what that one data point you would collect would be. Continue to let us know, because there's been some good feedback so far, and curious to see what those points are, because maybe we would be looking to add something new. There's always different perspectives as well too, so it's always a good idea to have multiple perspectives.
I think part of that is like, all right, well, you can build on that a little bit more, right? It's like, all right, well, if making the plan is one of my weaknesses, then that will definitely stand out right away if I track that stat. Right? I can be like, all right, I'm following the plan, but things are not working. Therefore, maybe my perspective and my structuring of the plan needs tweaking.
Tweaking, yeah.
Right? And then maybe we can delve into like, okay, what time of day I'm trading, or what setups am I trading? Right? It's like, all right, am I taking reversals? Am I taking reversions? Am I taking breakouts currently? And I'm planning well for them, and they're still not working well consistently. Then maybe I have to stop taking those breakouts or stop taking those reversions. Right? It's just like, all right, well, all of that comes with following the plan, and then having the plan in the first place.
Yeah, no.
I was talking to Neil about this earlier as well, and he pretty much said the same thing. It's just like, yeah. And I think Kyle Burdett in the chat saying the same thing as well. If you don't have a plan, there is no trade, right? It's like, yeah, sometimes you're going to fumble a lot if you don't have a distinct plan. And that's that was basically me on NVIDIA today. I'm like, all right, well, I'm looking for a reversion. I'm looking for the bid to step in. But I was like, 150 is a good level. I came up with like a mini plan in my head before taking. I'm like, all right, 150 is a level, give it to the low. But the thing is, like, bigger picture, the planning would have been like, oh, this has been pushing up for a few days. We failed to follow through pre-market highs. So part of the plan could be, did you take in bigger picture information before you kind of constructed your plan? That can be part of the checklist as well, right? And then that definitely is part of mine, but didn't follow it. And yeah, definitely lesson learned, and tuition paid for sure. But
there you go.
What's up, Adara?
Just be aware, it seems like Donald Trump is ending the press conference now. He basically thanked everyone for coming and said America is going to be a great country again. It is worth noting, I say it seems like, because there have been a couple times where it said one more question, then we've taken some more questions, but he is giving a bit of a wrap-up speech right now. DJT actually accelerating a little bit in volume. Now he's just said thank you very much. So the press conference has ended here in Mar-a-Lago, guys. DJT conference now done. Back to you. Make sure to like and subscribe.
Thank you, as always, Adara. There's a good question. Life's interpretations. Joseph, do you find that time messes with your patience when you have a plan? Price action messes me up if I'm focused on the time and not the plan. And what I mean by time, how much I'm in the trade, sorry, and I should have phrased this slightly different. It's the time of my entry of the trade, right? Because it's due to a specific setup. How long I'm in that trade is essentially irrelevant. I go until price tells me to get out of it, or I partial out or run out of shares. So I just want to be a little more thorough on that. Is my time in entry, all right? So there's a key span. A lot of traders are like, okay, 9:30 to 11. Other than that, I have no business looking at the overall market. Well, that's not the case here at a prop firm, right? But for me, it's like, okay, from 9:30 to 11 is when I have the ability to classify my trades better, so I have that A plus set up, that B plus, to know where you can kind of take those trades and have high conviction within those. So the time that I'm in the trade, sorry, I should have said differently, is irrelevant. It's more or less the time that I'm getting in, because I know for an extended period of time, it's like, okay, 2 to 4, not my best periods of trading. lunchtime to 1:30, not the most accurate. And this is why we collect data. But then from 9:30 to 11, it's like, okay, this is where I'm the most accurate. You get that momentum within the market as well too. And this is where you are the most profitable. So that's why documenting your trades and collecting data and journaling is important, because you can break down sections of the daily of the market, right? So you can go 9:30 to 11, 11 to 2, 2 to 4, and see where you are the most profitable. And then, as Obi was referring to, you can start to refine that system and have the ability to start executing significantly better as well too. All right, guys. So hopefully that helps Obi with some great insights. Because I know the guy's good with his journaling, and you want to learn from individuals like that. So he's extremely thorough. I know that I fill out my Notion and stuff on the way in. On the train, Obi, so like I'll run my scans in the morning and go through like all the technicals, and then I'll write my Notion in on the trade. Yeah. So I'm just, by the time that I get to the office, I'm mentally prepped, and then I kind of have a general idea of what I want to do when I'm trading.
Yeah, no, I think this last year was a big I guess evolution or a change up of the way I journal, and I have definitely a few people to thank for that. And again, kind of going to some of these conferences and meeting up with other traders and getting some ideas with them, and it definitely helps there. And shout out to everybody who's kind of helped me along the way on this journey. And my journaling has definitely been quite different over the past year, being more thoughtful about certain things. And shout out to Jeff Holden from SMB. He's definitely given some feedback, and my journaling has definitely improved after that. And Wayne as well. Wayne journals meticulously. I've learned a lot and changed up my journaling based off of what he does as well. So I think there's a lot to learn, and a lot to kind of grasp with effective journaling. We were talking about yesterday taking effective reps, right? It's like, all right, well, initially when I came on the floor, I was journaling in my notebook, right? And it's like, all right, well, sometimes that's not enough. I can't get my what do you call? I think Trump is done, by the way, but I think Notion is a great tool for journaling, and so I think using Notion effectively has been a big journey as well. And I realized at the end of my I'm currently doing my year-end review, and I realized that I can definitely be journaling and structuring data in a much more effective and efficient way on Notion, so that I can go back to it and reference and collect data that way as well. So I'm going to be changing that up,
classifying your trade.
Yeah, it's just like I'm not using all the features that Notion has to the best of its to the best of my abilities, and that can definitely change the game a little bit more there. And Day Trader Cut saying, Lance is a genius. Lance is definitely a great trader of our time, and he's been putting out amazing content as well. Definitely changing up the game, and I think he has some more things coming out at the end of the month that I'm really excited about as well. So if you follow him, you know all about that. But let's see what Adara has to say.
Hi, guys. We're going to take a look here at some small caps. The IWM, as you mentioned earlier, this double topping tail candles. This is 9:30. This is 9:45. So these are the first 2 candles off the open on the 15. We reject twice around that 226 halves area as of right now. We're trying to break 222 now. 222 has been a really key level on the IWM, so definitely keep an eye out for this consolidation. We broke below it a little bit earlier. As of right now, making actually some lower lows, lower highs, and higher lows on the IWM. So a bit of a consolidation. Could be a bear flag. Either way, be very cognizant of that 222 level on IWM. There's a lot of these small caps to keep an eye on here. We have DATS, DATChat. I could not find any news on this morning, but regardless, DATS is actually at its day's high, 10% short float, very small float as well, about 2.73 million shares, so just under 3 million share float, 10% short float. Then we have Blue Hat, BHAT. This one was mentioned earlier. This is a Chinese ADR. They had a big drop yesterday announcing the pricing of their $4.4 million registered direct offering, but now in even more volume, they're actually recovering quite nicely. from that drop. They are a penny stock right now, about 12 cents, up about 38% on the day with about a 53.5 million share float. We also have Clover Health. CLOV, anyone who's been following this one knows it has run in the past. It is a frequent runner. Right now above that $3.50 level. They have a larger float as well for a smaller cap name, but a $1.46 billion market cap with a float of just under 400 million shares. So Clover, one of its subsidiaries, Counterpart Health, is basically announced its Counterpart Assistant, an AI assistant here with leading accountable care organizations. They're deploying their AI assistant, the subsidiary of Clover. Clover does have about a 3.7% short float. I'm also seeing this SPI pop up here, so we'll take a look at this one as well. SPI with about 50 million shares traded on the day. SPI Energy Co. Energy's been pretty strong today. We talked about that during Sector Watch. 2.74% short float, $52.46 million market cap, and a float of 24.3 million shares. But they're about to have their first red 15-minute candle of the day, guys. SPI, BHAT, DATS, and CLOV all on watch. Make sure you vote for that Playmaker poll. Do you think the SPY should go long or short? Let us know in the chat. Back to you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
So market's taking a little bit of a pullback here, and I'm just replying to some comments here in the chat as well.
Sure.
Yeah, no, it seems like we're poised for a little bit lower here. Wow, oh boy, would you look at that?
Yeah, I know, dude.
Fresh lows on the Nasdaq and the ES.
Insane.
Here we go. It's 12:46. And sellers are still in charge.
They're still in charge, man. I got to get out of this trade. There's today, like we're just trying to catch the longs. Again, fighting the trend is not working. Today, the extremely weak session. VIX up, as I mentioned multiple times. Market continuing to move to the downside. TQ's down 4.7, so it is leveraged. So the market about half of that, guys. But yeah, I mean, Bitcoin week. Cryptocurrency week. The one thing that is moving higher, though, OBI, is BHAT, Blue Hat Interactive, is still continuing to trade higher, putting in that new high a day. But again, only about 12 cents. This is a 12-cent stock. Not something I would necessarily be getting into, but if it's strong, then there's no reason to fight the price action. But it gaps down. Look at this on a 5-minute. You get this gap down here, and it opens up significantly lower. So just be wary of that, guys. But yeah, this market is extremely weak. Continuing to the south side, the VIX isn't up to much. XLV continuing to make some lows. So let's take another gander at some of these sectors and see what has changed from a sentiment standpoint. Yeah, energy is still at the top of its class, but I mean, the financial sector getting close to going red. Materials only up about 0.25%, and then the healthcare up about 0.4 as well too. But guys, it is time. We have to pay some bills, as our guy likes to say. Hive Digital Technologies is pioneering the digital transformation through sustainable AI solutions and Bitcoin mining, a global leader in cutting-edge data center operations with over 2,700 Bitcoin on their balance sheet. Hive consistently tops the industry in Bitcoin mined per exahash and is redefining the future of powering the world's most transformative technologies with efficient, green, and clean energy. Learn more by following them at Hive Digital Tech or at hivedigitaltech.com and sign up for the Hive newsletter for updates. Scan the QR code in the description, folks. So there it is. Hive Technologies. Adara posted something, I believe, on Twitter, on the Trader TV Live Twitter, or X, sorry, as we would like to call it, about the largest holdings of who has the largest holdings of Bitcoin. So nice. Yeah, it's interesting stuff from an institutional standpoint. But yeah, I mean, Obi, like we're breaking the lows here on the overall market. How much more selling can we endure? I mean, we're not down too much on the session. As I mentioned before, only about 2% or so. So about not even 1.5% here on the session. So again, it's nothing horrible, but not everything we were looking kind of towards on the session, especially with NVDA gapping higher, testing those all-time highs, and then immediately selling off as well too. So the market is just following in that direction. Still hovering and consolidating in and around the lows NVDA is. So yeah, but that massive engulfing candle on the daily, extremely weak session. Again, I'm looking for a bounce on this, but I don't know if it's going to happen today. What do you think about that, Obi?
Yeah, I don't know, man. This market's so like, I mean, the thing that what we can see, observe right now is that sellers are clearly in charge. When will they stop being in charge? I have no idea, but I'm sure that it'll come in with some sort of price and volume analysis or event that may or may not happen. But yeah, we can quickly take a look at what some of these tickers are doing here, and if they're poised for a bit of a turn here. But yeah, I was just looking at Micron here because I think Adara in the chat was saying that she's short underneath 104s, and yeah, 102.75. So Micron looking like it wants to break down to its day low. Day low's in at 101.83. So nice trade on that one. They're a bit of a reversion as well, so I like that. So nice trade on that Micron, Adara. And yeah, no, I think a lot of people in the chat are putting up some good points about risk management. Kyle Burdett basically saying that yeah, he wishes we were in the States so that he could have a risk manager over his shoulder. And yeah, you got to remember at the end of the day, yeah, sure, it's like it definitely helps a lot to have someone over your shoulder and peers around you that you can discuss and kind of butt heads with in terms of trades and trade ideas and trade management and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, you have to be your best risk manager. You have to be the risk manager, right? And that's the biggest thing I'm learning as well. Like, I mean, Brankles is no longer kind of yelling at me to get out of positions or manage my risk better, and I'm like, all right, well, it's like I have to do that myself. I have to become my own best risk manager and my own best trader in my own ways. And yeah, having structure and building that over time definitely helps. Covered that last time I was in Toronto for a wedding, and nice.
Yeah,
okay, I don't know if I want to read that out loud, but yeah, no, you should definitely come back and visit us in Toronto. You're more than welcome, Kyle Burdett. And I'm curious to know, are you short spiders at all today? Are you still holding that Tesla short, which is obviously working out nicely? And I think earlier on somebody asked us to take a look at Meta as well, so we can kind of do that. Meta's been pretty much trading sideways since Trump kind of mentioned it there. So looking at the 3-minute here, let's pull that up as of right now. You can see that we did kind of clip a high of that 622.14, but pretty much sideways consolidation for over an hour here, just above the 616 half mark there on Meta. But yeah, sideways looking, I guess you would call this relatively strong because it is holding within the range, almost about 30 to 40%. Within its range off of the lows there, on top of that 615, as both the NASDAQ and the ES kind of crack to the downside. So let's take a quick look at these large caps. Oh boy. And the reversion on Apple yesterday was absolutely beautiful, the way it came in so clean and directionally, and it gives you that continuation coming in today. So not only, this is what I'm realizing, Joe, sometimes if it's really clean and great on the intraday, sometimes that might be an entry for the multi-day. And seeing as we get a strong continuation to the downside here on Apple, that was, I guess, a great reason to sell on off of some of those levels there on Apple. And then with Nvidia taking a little bit of a hit as well off of its all-time highs today, that's bringing in the confluence for a bit of that short idea here on the day. So let's go through some of these large caps here. Wow, Google to the downside. So it definitely lost a good chunk of that bid that we had yesterday, and coming into some of those lows we were talking about earlier on today. 195, what was that low right there? That pullback low from yesterday's drive was 195.17. We're currently trading at 195.41. So, oh boy, we're coming back into some of those levels as well. Let's take a look at our friend Amazon. Wow, Amazon off of the open, straight to the downside, just shellac to the downside. 222.15s are the lows right now. 228.72s the highs. Kind of a grab of yesterday's highs, but couldn't quite make it. Fails that consolidation high right off of the open. Continuation to the downside, very, very aggressively here. And I think we took a look at most of them there, but let's take a quick look at Softy as well. Wow, Softy is directional to the downside. Oh my God. Nice trend to the downside on Softy, breaking below yesterday's lows at 425 and some change, and continuing, currently trading at 423s. But NVIDIA seems like it's trying to catch a little bit of a bid right now. So yeah, sideways consolidation nonetheless, but futures reclaiming that 21.4. But you got to remember, we still have just over 3 hours of trading left on the day. Anything can happen. You never know.
Yeah, for sure. I totally agree. And Kyle Burdett had a solid point here too, Obi. He said, Obi, Joe and Obi learning to accept the losses and appreciate the gains, not get too much risk on, has been the hardest part of day trading options. And yeah, I mean, I agree. We don't trade options here, but just from trading them in the past, is that you got to understand that you're now working with a leverage derivative. It all sounds like fun and dandy when you're trading them, but just understand that those losses can accumulate too. Even though when you're just flat out buying contracts, that risk can be defined and right. But again, for every 1 point move in a contract, you can see that contract diminish significantly, opposed to just taking outright shares. So you don't get the choice to be like, oh, I want 50 shares or et cetera with an options contract. Just know that it's equal to 100 shares, right? So of that underlying, and it's tough. There's no doubt about it. I've told the boys, I've took some bad beats trading options, writing options as well too, and they're hard to get over. But again, if you just stick to the game plans, just understand that it's an additional vehicle to trading, and utilize it as that, then you should be well off. But again, risk management is at the top of its class. It's so important, especially trading and writing options. So just keep that in mind, guys. If you are planning on writing options, and when I refer to writing as selling options, just be really, really careful, because those losses can become outsized if you don't have stop losses in place. All right, so just keep that in mind. Kyle, I know you've been crushing it. So thanks for your commitment to the community. Always much appreciated, especially seeing you here all the time. Joe, I may come here and try trade options off. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, guys, continue to let us know what you're looking at in the chat. We have a $5 super chat here, though, Obi, from our good friend Nick W. Always in the chat, always contributing as well. So, hey, guys, I was wondering if you could take a look at JanX on the daily, and is there any news for potential takeover target? Sure, let's take a look at JanX, JNX, therapeutics. Okay. Again, biotech, not something in my wheelhouse, but here we are trading higher on the session, gapping up with I don't see any volume as of right now, but a really strong engulfing candle here on JanX Therapeutics. Let's take a look a little bit deeper into it for you here, Nick W. Therapeutics is a clinical stage biopharmaceutical company developing tumor-activated immunotherapies for cancer. It has developed two bispecific platforms. Okay, $3.4 billion market cap here on JanX. Let's see if there's any news real quick for you. Not that I see on the front 20 minutes. Yeah, so unless it was from yesterday, Nick, I'm not seeing anything new. If something pops up, maybe we'll get Adara to find something if she sees anything on JanX. But as of right now, it's not trading horrible, putting in a pretty good session. I mean, the healthcare sector is one of the only green sectors on the session, so you're looking in the right space. Not something that I would particularly trade. Obi, I don't know how you feel about, again, I know you're a price action guy. It doesn't matter what the ticker is or the name of the company is, as long as the price action and the volume is there, you're going to look to participate in those trades.
I think that's definitely something I'm trying to improve on. But yeah, that's definitely the mental there. And yeah, the question basically is where's the party at?
Yeah, where's the party at?
Where's the party at?
Yeah, where's the party at?
Like that's where I want to be. I don't care if it's underneath $1. I don't care if it's $500. And yeah, sometimes tickers when they get expensive, they can definitely be slightly deterring because of the spread. So like some of these tickers, they're the $1,000 tickers. I think was it AutoZone might be one of those where yeah, you can have some crazy Yeah, AZO. Yeah, okay, so take a look at this one right here. So AZO, sometimes during earnings, it does have some decent moves. But this thing is a $3,000 ticker. And yeah, the spread can be pretty nasty. And then you have to be willing to take the trade and give it the appropriate risk as well. So regardless of price, I think that if there's volume and there's catalyst, or whether that's technical or news, it doesn't necessarily matter as long as it's in play. I definitely like to take a look at that. But we're going to go off to Adara with crypto.
What we're going to do here is talk about Bitcoin. Before we do that, I did look into that JANX. There was no catalyst that I could find, but they have a decent short float, about 13%. The other thing I want to say is we know biotech's been really strong today, or at least off the open. mRNA was up, I think, 11% at its high. We had a lot of strength in NVAX as well, Eli Lilly. So a lot of these biotech names strong, partially maybe because of rotation, but also partially because we have had that avian flu news, which has given these stocks a little bit of a rise, specifically those that are focused on vaccines. So either way, JANX, great look. Take a look at Bitcoin here. This is now a bearish engulfing candle, taking out the last 3 days of price action and honestly almost the last 4. So this is quite the bearish engulfing. Again, opening around 102 halves, currently trying to hold on to 97. So massive downside move here for BTC. We know that the whole market dropped when we had those higher than expected JOLTS job openings numbers coming out at 10 a.m. They also upwardly revised the previous print. So some of these revisions are not always viewed positively. We also here have the 10-year note to be aware of. I haven't seen those numbers come in yet, but just be cognizant of that. I also did look more into those percentages of companies holding Bitcoin. Once again, as Joe mentioned, I'm actually going to be working on a tweet now for that for Trader TV Research, because we have not posted a proper graphic of that yet. So that will be on watch. Keep an eye on that. Basically, though, there's just under 3% of the total holdings of Bitcoin that are held by publicly traded companies. Now, of that 3%, MSTR has 2%. So MicroStrategy is the vast majority of all of the Bitcoin that is held by publicly traded companies. They have just under 450,000 coins as of right now. The next highest is number 2, Marathon Digital. They have about 40,000 coins. So MSTR well outpacing all of its peers here in terms of how much Bitcoin it holds. No one else holds even 1% of the total of Bitcoin, and MSTR does hold 2%. So I think interesting look there. Before we end this segment and toss you back off to Joe and Obi, I can't call them the Bash Brothers, Joby, I guess. We'll take a look here quickly at Dogecoin. We know Dogecoin was on watch earlier because some people, there was actually the Y Combinator CEO or someone associated with Y Combinator basically saying on X that he speculates for 2025 with Doge, the Department of Government Efficiency, Dogecoin could actually push higher and have a great rally. Elon Musk, so again, one of the co-leaders of the Department of Government Efficiency, actually countering this point, saying that he thinks a lot of crypto could go down if the Department of Government Efficiency is successful because they're going to be cutting down on spending and the dollar will drop. So DOJGE actually pushing down on what could and should have been a bullish note for this ticker. Make sure to vote in our last poll of the midday session. It'll give you another list of 4 tickers. You pick your one ticker, and the top 5 between this poll and our other poll will be covered on the rundown with Sean and Neil at 2 p.m. Back to you.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Dara.
I mean,
no, Elon. Why would you say that? No, I'm joking. No, I'm sure he's correct on that. I think that if there's proper, I feel like if there's more regulation on spending, then yeah, definitely we could see a little bit of a pullback there on crypto. So something that's happening right now is Meta is pushing that prior high at 622. So let's see if that can kind of give us a little bit of a break. The market is attempting to catch a little bit of a bounce here off of that 21.4 on the NASDAQ, and I think the low somewhere just above that 59, what is this, 5960s-ish, 5962, I think, in and around that area on the ES as well. So catching a little bit of a bounce. Let's pull up that Meta chart here and take a quick look at that one, because I know we said we were going to take a look at that a little bit earlier there. So you can see that we did pull back into these 17 half area here on Meta. Sideways consolidation, as it was a little bit relatively stronger than what the rest of the market was doing. And we're getting a push back up towards some of these prior highs there. And that high also confluences with that pre-market low. So that pre-market low coming in at 621.85. We're currently trading at 621.70s, and this prior high here from before, in and around was 11:30ish, coming in at 622.14. So we're attempting to push some of those highs. Will the market bounce enough? Will we have a strong enough reversion is the real question there. And it seems like NVIDIA is attempting to push for its highs again. So the bid finally coming in a little bit on NVIDIA. Let's see if we can get to VWAP. 145.30s is VWAP right now. Currently trading at 142.60s. So I guess the short's not really working out right now if you're chasing a short middle of the day. There we're pretty much chopping sideways in this range on a lot of these tickers as the market attempts to decide which direction we're going in here. Still within the downtrend there on both the ES and the NASDAQ hasn't really broken out. So you can see, again, just drawing in a simple kind of a trend here, you can see that we're still pretty much in a bit of a downtrend there, both on the NASDAQ and the ES, even though we're catching a little bit of a bid. Unless and until we reclaim 21.5s or break this consolidation high, we haven't necessarily reversed with any sort of meaning just yet, but sideways consolidations on a lot of these names here. So let's see if Meta gives us that follow through. If we get that double top pullback into some of these lows, then maybe that could be a little bit of a signal as well if Meta is going to double top intraday underneath that 620 level. But I don't know what's going to happen. Let's kind of wait and see what we have in store. But selling still seems like it is very much in charge across the board when it comes to the Mag 7 there.
Yeah, I totally agree with you there, Obi. Just a little bit of a cover rally, it seems to be. But guys, as of right now, we're documenting our 20th trade of the Playmaker poll here. So as you can see, we have the 20th trade here. Today, we took another L yesterday, so it's been a little bit of a tough stretch here. We're about 1 for 5 in our past 5 sessions, so a little bit of a tough look. I have a lot of confidence in today's trade, though, because we are catching it at the bottoms. Let's see what happens on that front. Here's our entry price, $591.30. We have a target price of, sorry, I got to correct that. It's $593.30 is our target price with a stop loss of $590.30, time in at 104. Let's see what happens on that front. Guys, here's the equity curve slowly pulling back in. Obi says this is just a liquidity grab until we proceed to newer heights when we were talking about it yesterday. So let's see a nice head and shoulders here. I think a liquidity grab, but we have to document another L, unfortunately. So that's going to bring the P&L drastically lower to these opening ranges. Let's see what's happening. I mentioned switching it up to just an options contract. Maybe we'll do that later in the week. But as of right now, nice head and shoulders here. Extremely bearish pattern here, Obi, on the equity curve, unfortunately. So heading a little bit more south. Let's see if we can rebound today. As I mentioned before, highly confident, guys. So, yeah. I mean, having fun with this one. I know you guys are too. Thanks, Bear vs. Bulls, for reminding me as well. Someone in the chat says, my 300 Bitcoin holding cozy from my $3 average. Marco Moses. All right, I see you. So, hey, man, feel free to transfer me over a couple of those. Be more than willing for any donations of Bitcoin over here. But, yeah, good stuff there. Congratulations to you on that Bitcoin. Love seeing that stuff. Yeah, Tony, thanks for the kind words as always. Guys, we're in some NVDA here. Caught the bottom after this consolidation phase here, Obi. Slowly curling back up, trading around about 142.62 right now. Still negative on the session, down over 4.5% on the day. $6, over $6, almost $7 down on the session. Obi and I were talking about this earlier, and as I was looking at it on the train in, I'm like, oh, okay, I thought NVDA was going to be primed for that kind of blue skies territory, going towards those all-time highs. But sure enough, sold off not too long after the open, or at the open, sorry, and then just continued that southeast trajectory of selling and then putting in this massive engulfing candle on the daily after that gap up. So of yesterday's gap up, that is. So really tough look on NVDA and the overall market. But here we are starting to slowly recover and pull back in towards the volume-weighted average price, Obi.
Yes, sir. So Nick W. in the chat was asking, what are some of the books that I would recommend here. So again, I can go through. I have a bit of a reading list here. So I can go through some of these. Okay, so I haven't really checked some of these off in a while, but these are some of the books, I guess. I'm okay with putting this on the screen here. Okay, so this is kind of a reading list right here. Technical analysis of the financial markets. We talk about this one a lot on the show. This was one of the first kind of solid books that I read about trading. It's pretty much a textbook on a lot of technical analysis and equations and rule sets for how to use certain types of indicators, right? I don't necessarily use all of them, but I'm aware that other players do. And then you can kind of derive some decision making off of that. One Good Trade, the playbook, complete guide to volume price analysis. We were talking about this by Anna Culling. All of the Market Wizards books. I think some of these I have read. I just got to check them off again. Trading in the Zone. Mark Douglas was a great one. Flash Boys, absolutely kind of one of the game-changing books for me. Just kind of realizing how some participants in the market kind of function and what their goals are. Atomic Habits, absolutely solid. 48 Laws of Power there. Subtle Art of Not Giving an F, that's a great one as well. Alpha Trader's a great one. Let's see, some of these other ones I think I have, I still have to read these ones. But yeah, those are some of the books off of the top. I haven't updated that list in a while there, but definitely some good books there. We were talking about this yesterday as well, right? I think a lot of the Market Wizard books are pretty solid as well to kind of make you realize that you have to kind of find your own path and your own perspective in the market, because you have a lot of these players who were pretty much, you can say, anomalies when it comes to trading throughout time, and they did extremely well. And often enough, they have clashing perspectives on how the market should be viewed, or what their perspective on the market or price action or technicals or fundamentals might be, right? But they all made a lot of money. They all were very successful. So that gives you something to think about, right? It's like, okay, well, if that's not necessarily a common factor amongst all these players who were successful, what really makes the difference?
Yeah.
It's a good question to ask.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I mean, however the old saying goes, the smartest people just take bits of information from everybody. So I think that's really key in trading as well too. And then it's totally subjective, but that's I think I wouldn't say end goal, but the goal is to just take bits of information from a variety of different traders and people you would classify as mentors, and then put them into your own style, right? Just interpret your own DNA into your own trading style. And I think that's extremely important. You take a bit from Sean, you take a bit from Neil, you take a bit from Obi, you take a bit from Sharif, and then you just combine them all, and then you come up with your own style. I like this aspect. I don't like that aspect. I like this aspect, and continue, and then you just rinse and repeat and refine that system. So yeah, a really good point there, Obi. I agree with you on that front. Guys, we're here. NVDA is continuing to recover. Do I want to check out RGTI? Absolutely, and then we'll start talking about NVDA as well too here. So let's pull up Rigetti, one of the hottest stocks in the market as of late. Slowly just kind of, the momentum has slowed down a little bit here on RGTI, but I mean, the ATR is still there. A monstrous run. We went over this countless times from late November, the 27th of November, up over 800%, 853% to be exact, from November 27th. So been trading absolutely fantastic here, pulling back, totally justifiable, especially after this monster run. The volume has stepped in and it is supporting the breakout. So really good look there on RGTI. Let's zoom in on the 5-minute time frame and see what we got going on from an intraday perspective. And here we are, double bottom, which is extremely nice here, Obi. I think you would like this one here. As we start to recover, yeah, really nice double bottom there on RGTI. Now heading towards the volume-weighted average price. Let's see if volume can kick in, step in, and we can break through that and start a new trend here because the primary is to the downside from an intraday perspective. So a pullback, totally healthy. Unfortunately, we can't just go parabolic all the time. But yeah, RGTI looking really nice. Let's see if it's poised for a breakout here. You're going to need that volume to step in. But here we are with some NVDA, guys, continuing to move towards the volume-weighted average price, squeezing a little bit. The volume's starting to pick up on NVDA as we have this really long consolidation phase from about 10:40 in the morning to about breaking out now. So just after lunchtime, let's see if we can continue and test that 145 level, which would be sitting around the volume weighted average price on NVDA. But I'm liking this one thus far. Anything that you guys would say? Are you in it too there?
I mean, I've been taking stabs at a bit of a short there, but it is breaking out and continuing there. But Meta is also breaking out and continuing. I like that a little bit better for that continuation. I'm just kind of dabbling in this idea here of NVIDIA, trying to get short at different prices there. But don't forget, I'm trading on the demo. Just trying to make better decisions than I did this morning here on this ticker. Yeah, I did get blasted off of the open trying to get long at 150 and 146s. It was basically two trades with a couple of ads there, and I definitely over leveraged and risked too wide, and that was the issue there. And on a day like today, being unaware of that day 3 gap and that news event and an all-time high failure to follow through. Come on, man, I can be doing much better than that. But it's okay. We review,
live and learn.
We realize, we reassess, we recalibrate, and we come back swinging tomorrow. Yes, it is. So I know that Derek likes that. Was it from The Office? It's like react, readapt, act. Yes, that one. So, okay. Yeah, no, it's a funny quote from The Office. But yeah, no, that's basically what we do as traders. Dwight?
Dwight's the best. Yeah. Dwight's the best. Yeah.
He's cool. I like the interaction between both Jim and Dwight. I think that's it's always classic kind of interaction there. Reminds me of high school days. But yeah, no.
Parkour.
Parkour.
Yeah, parkour. These guys are just like jumping on buildings.
Parkour.
Yeah, parkour.
Yeah.
They're just like, doing flips in the office. Yeah, that's funny stuff. That's funny stuff there, man.
What do you got going on? You're in the NVIDIA long.
Yeah, I'm in the NVIDIA long here off the bottoms, Obi. We were consolidating. We didn't put in any low, right?
That hold was nice.
New lows. Pardon me?
That hold was nice. We're making higher lows.
Yeah, exactly.
Already broken trend.
Yeah, exactly. So broke that primary trend as of right now. Could it just be somewhat of a liquidity grab? The volume is starting to step in on the lower time frames, which is something that I like to keep an eye out for. But again, I think volume, VWAP, is going to be a key pivot here point in the market. Let's see if the SPY and the Qs can break through the volume weighted average price. It has been trading below it for the majority of the session here today. So again, I think that's going to be a key resistance zone. If we can punch through that, maybe the market starts to recover on the day. But I mentioned earlier that the VIX was up significantly, so that volatility is starting to step in here, guys, on the session. Again, dragging a lot of the market down with it. So let's see what happens on NVDA. If we recover, get that VWAP touch, that would be the majority of the outs on that front. So yeah, dip buy. A lot of people are saying buy the dip. If SPY goes to 585, they're looking to buy the dip. I know Tom Lee from Fundstrat and Danny Ives, big tech bulls, see a lot of tailwinds for the market. I agree with them on that front. I think it is a buy the dip scenario. I mentioned before, after that FOMC meeting, when we had that 25 basis point cut, when the VIX spikes over 60%, the volatility in the VIX steps in over 60%, then the market in the next month or a little bit longer recovers and then puts in new all-time highs. So Bob Curran, as I just mentioned, the volume weighted average price would be the primary target on NVDA. Even if we don't get it, then that's fine. But we'll continue to take some profits as we head towards the volume weighted average price. But as of right now, that is the main target. But we're going to see what Adara is up to over at the big desk.
Keep an eye on NVIDIA and Amazon here. I have Amazon up right now. Both of these companies have invested in Anthropic. Chiefly, Amazon is quite involved here in a strategic partnership with Anthropic. The reason I bring this up is because Wall Street Journal just reporting that Anthropic is apparently in talks to raise $2 billion at a $60 billion valuation. So more funding here for Anthropic. Keep an eye on AMZN and NVIDIA. It's been a great day for AI-related catalysts as we do have CES 2025 this whole week. So yet another one to add here to that pile is this Anthropic funding round, guys.
All right, thank you very much. That's another catalyst there with Amazon. This morning they were partnering up with BMW, I think.
Oh, were they?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
For some,
What do you start selling cars online?
No, I think something about their features in their EVs.
Alexa,
in
yeah.
BMW EVs.
Nice.
There, so interesting stuff. Yeah, we were talking about how what the future holds for EVs, and some of these other car companies getting into the.
Do you have Alexa at home?
I do not.
Do you have like Google or anything, any of the smart home? And that's it. All right, that's all you need there. Yeah.
I have a smart thermostat, which is like because I'm like I don't want to get up to go change the temperature, so I'm just like let me just.
We all know the thermostat is a territorial device in the homes, right? So
I mean, as long as you keep. I mean, I think the good thing is like a lot of people in my household, we generally agree on the temperature.
All right, that's good.
There.
That's good.
So it's not too bad there, but not too many smart devices. I think we got a what's that? Not the ring light, but the doorbell.
Oh, okay. The camera with the camera.
With the camera on it. So that's I guess smart doorbell. That one's there.
All right.
Other than that, I don't think anything else crazy. Thinking about getting those the smart lights that you can control like the whole house with like the whole lighting. That's a little bit easier, especially for turning on like the pot lights outside and stuff like that. But haven't really done that. How about you? Ed? How
I have no. Yeah, my house is not smart at all whatsoever. Yeah, there's not. Yeah, no, it's a little dumb on that front. Yeah, we don't really know smart devices. Other than the phone, and TV. Yeah, the TV. Yeah,
smart TV.
Yeah, I can't lie. Yeah, so yeah. We got the smart TV.
Play the Netflix
but hey, listen, even my main TV in my bedroom isn't a smart TV. It's like a 32-inch that I've had since 2015, a Samsung. It's still working prime, so
do you like game on that? Or?
Yeah, it was like my gaming one where we play Call of Duty and.
What do you play on? Like a PS5?
PS4. Yeah, it was man. My PS4 is 10 years old as well too.
The last PlayStation I got was the PlayStation 1.
The one.
Yeah, I have a PS1 and an N64 at home.
Yeah.
But now sometimes I blow off the cartridge and go at it again. Yeah, exactly. You know.
Those were the good old days, man. Those were the good old days.
But that happens really after I got a PC. Then it was pretty much
PC gaming. Yeah. I like how the like N64 is one of the cooler systems. Like I'm pretty sure everybody that I went to school with, every household there had a PC when I was in Guelph. And everybody had an N64, and we would go run Smash Bros. And
some of the graphics and the gameplay on N64 surpassed PS1.
You know what I mean? Right? And there's no loading screens. I'm pretty sure there's no loading screens, which is like, okay, that's never.
Do you ever have a Sega? A Sega Genesis?
I had a Sega GameCube.
Yeah.
Dude, I had all of them, man. I had the Xboxes, PS1, PS2. I didn't have PS3 for very long, but GameCube was actually one of my favorite systems. And I had Sega Genesis.
Nick W, I agree with you. Nick W in the chat saying N64 is arguably one of the best.
It is the best.
Systems.
I think it is the best system.
I definitely agree with
Absolutely
that one. They don't make them like that anymore.
I had the see-through one too. You know how you get like the smoky gray. I had the smoky gray one. I didn't have the purple, but yeah.
I got the purple controller. I got it with what was it? What was the special? I think there was Pokemon Snap.
Dude, did you used to hook your Pokemon game up to your N64 and then play it on? There was a game that you could do that, with your Game Boy and stuff like that. Yeah, I had that one. So
it had the Game Boy Advance.
Yeah, the Game Boy. Yeah, that was some good times.
Those are the only three consoles I really ever had. It'd be the N64, the PlayStation 1, and then I had a Game Boy Advance SP.
Oh, okay.
Which
you didn't have the color. Did you have Game Boy Color? One of the first ones?
No. I remember there was kids in elementary that we would always kind of take turns playing. I think it was Pokemon Yellow.
Yeah, Pokemon.
The one with the Pikachu that you can walk around with.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, that one.
Yeah, I had every variety of those. Those were good times.
Great times.
No doubt about
Long
that.
Nintendo. I wonder what that
long Nintendo. Is it? No
It
way.
trades. Of course
Yeah.
it trades.
What is it?
It
Let's
trades
see,
on
what is it?
OTCs.
Okay.
NTDO. Yeah.
NTDOY.
Let's
Okay,
see.
yeah.
Let's see what Nintendo's
Oh, wow.
been doing
Extremely
on the weekly
liquid.
here.
Yeah, let's zoom out
take
and
a quick
see.
look.
Has
I don't know
Nintendo
how
been a
many-
good investment? Oh yeah, well, it doesn't
Well, stocks only go up. You can see
Stocks only go up, man. 1995.
Is
That
this adjusted?
crazy.
That is adjusted. So these are pretty much all-time highs
Yeah.
nearing on Nintendo.
There you go, bro.
Nintendo all-time highs 15.59, and guess when we hit that, Joe?
Wow.
We hit that in the first week of December
There we go.
last year, 2024.
Okay.
So Nintendo, I guess
That's
you weren't too
interesting.
happy if you got long anywhere between, let's say, from 07 to 2022.
No,
Sorry, 2020. But since then we've been kind of. You've been nice. If you got long after 2015, I think it's been only up since then after finding a bit of a base here. But yeah, trades on the OTCs.
Okay, that's interesting. I didn't know
Yeah,
that.
you know what? I'm curious. Now I'm curious.
Now
Let's check out Sony. I know
Yeah,
Sony definitely
Sony.
trades as well. So let's see how Sony's doing.
But I wouldn't call it a sole provider.
No, of course not. Sony's in so many different things.
exactly.
Sony's in so many different
yeah.
things, and gaming is just a small aspect of what Sony does. Sony's got their hands and feet in so many different sectors and everything. They got phone. Remember the Sony Ericsson? That one was huge.
Sony Ericsson, wow.
I know they make great sound systems as well. And TVs, the
Bravia.
Bravia.
The Bravia.
is
The Bravia is
absolutely
the
crisp,
top of its
absolutely
class,
amazing.
yes.
Yeah.
Top of
So
its class.
Sony does a lot of stuff as well. So yeah. Anyways, quick check on that. The market is catching a little bit of a bid
is.
now. So we got Meta attempting to break out, didn't really make it there. Still trading around 622s, but the Nasdaq has reclaimed above that 21.5, and the ES making a run for that 6,000. Let's see if that 6,000 holds up as any sort of a resistance going into the end of the day. But yeah. Getting a bit of that reversion there. The trend break came in early, and if you were risking to the lows, you're doing all right now with Nvidia potentially coming back up into VWAP here. Here's the chart I have right here. So you can see that strong selling off of the open, catches a base in and around 140, 140.44s is the day low. We make a higher low, consolidate sideways, make a higher low, consolidate sideways, finally break out of this consolidation high as of right now and attempting to push a little bit higher, about a point about roughly 2 points away from VWAP there, currently trading at 143s, VWAP being at 145s as of right now. But Meta not really catching too much of a breakout on that market bump there. So maybe you got to stay patient for that one there. Maybe it doesn't even want it. No idea. Not really watching that one too close. But let's take a quick look at her. Wow, look at the reversion on Apple, bro.
yeah.
That thing is
Market's
going.
recovering, man.
So low of 240. 136 breaks the trend and currently pushing up higher, only about 50 pennies away from its VWAP there. Let's check out our friend Amazon. Amazon still consolidating near the day lows to there, so no real continuation to the upside on that one there. Our friend Goggle's still kind of, it's been rangy. We had that strong drive off of the open, but oh boy, once we kind of sold below that VWAP and sustained, look at that double top at 198. 30s-ish, we kind of sell off and continuing to hold as a bit of a relatively weak-looking stock on this one there. I know I'm missing one of them. Did we check out Softy? Softy still trading near its lows there. So it seems like NVIDIA is one of the only ones that really is trying to catch a bit of a bid back towards its VWAP currently. So I'm curious to know, okay, so Mikey DFS in the chat, giving us a little spamming of that AMD. Let's see what the advanced money destroyer is up to. Yeah,
it's above VWAP.
version. Yeah, that's an aggressive bid right there on AMD, catching about a 1.3% pop off of some of these range low holds on top of 128. As of right now, blasting through VWAP, blasting through some of these prior highs as well, but hasn't really recovered into its opening range high, sitting at 131. Still a ways to go there. As we're still trading below this 130. Coming into these opening range lows currently, let's see if that support in the open turns into a bit of a resistance here, but that is an aggressive bid with a little bit of expanding volume coming in on that push as well. So not really, don't really have anything else on watch. Yes, of course, Pitchbull saying Tesla, of course. How can we forget about Tesla? Tesla. Still consolidating underneath that VWAP right now. 391.20s is the day low, but VWAP sitting at 399s. We talked about that 400 level hold, and we're coming right back up into that 400 level. Now, confluenced even closer to VWAP here. So VWAP sitting at 399.93. That level was holding, so that 400, if we break above, oh boy. If we stay below, oh boy indeed. So let's see what that 400 will have in store for us if we can even get there, Joe. So those are the things that maybe I'm kind of watching there. I know you guys are trading a lot of different things as well. We can take a look at some other names after we get back from Madeira.
What we're going to do here is take a look at the US dollar. Before we do that, I want to mention AMD because this one actually trying to go green. I cannot find any catalyst on this, but we do have that increase in volume on the most recent 15-minute candle. We rejected 130 pretty harshly, but keep an eye regardless on advanced micro devices. We do have, of course, CES going on. AMD expected to attend there. They've already announced some of what their innovations are going to be. So if I see any catalyst on AMD, I will let you know post-haste. Just wanted to let you guys know about that volume increase. We do have as well the US dollar to talk about. After a pretty harsh move to the downside yesterday, we actually made a slightly higher low compared to yesterday's low, currently at around 108.5 right now for the DXY. The biggest economic catalyst by far of the day, actually I would say one of the biggest catalysts for the market as a whole today, was the JOLTS job openings print. So this came in higher than expected for November, 8.098 million versus 7.73 million expected, and the prior print of 7.839 million. However, that prior print for October was actually revised upwards. It previously was 7.74. So pretty intense upward revision there for the JOLTS job openings number and a much higher than expected print for November. Sent the market sharply to the downside. DXY has recovered, though, as we've seen the market is trying to recover right now. Now, in terms of other catalysts on watch today, for the US dollar, we did have higher than expected ISM services prices paid and higher than expected ISM services PMI. So all this data, at the most part at 10 a.m., came in higher than expected. Also now higher than it was previously is the CME FedWatch tool. And by that, I mean we have more people than ever expecting we will get no rate cut at the next FOMC meeting. You can use this tool to look at what it was yesterday. Yesterday, 91.4% of participants were expecting that we would not get a cut at the January 29th meeting. Now, 95.2% of participants are not expecting a cut. This comes alongside comments from Fed Sparkin as well, basically saying we can get inflation to 2%, but could take a little bit longer. So we've continued to have this slightly hawkish Fed talk, including from Fed Chair Jerome Powell at the last FOMC meeting, suggesting there will be less cuts. Furthermore, after that JOLTS print I actually saw here, now traders are not pricing in any cuts until July. So the look here for the Fed and for the rates continues to be a pretty hawkish one, guys. Back to you.
Hawkish Fed, a hawkish cut. Hawkish cut, dovish cut. I don't know. The cut's a cut. I don't know. How do you feel about that type of stuff, Obi?
I think what was that term that was frequently used by Powell?
Data dependent.
No. Oh. What was it? The market is what was that? The market is sound. Oh, is resilient. Something with resilient. He said that over and over again. I think that's. I think somebody in the chat might remember that as well. Sound and resilient. I think that's what it was. The market is sound and resilient. That's one of the best quotes of 2023.
Resilient. Yeah. Not a political entity.
I just like to do my best to react to what the market does off of some of these economic catalysts there.
I agree.
I'm not definitely not smart enough to kind of predict and anticipate some of these things and kind of forward look. But maybe that's a skill I can build in the future. I have no idea. But yeah, don't really look at them too far in advance. But when things do come out, then yeah, is it above or below expected, and how does the market kind of treat that new information?
Yeah.
That's how I like looking at it.
And I think like again.
Yes, Kyle Burdett.
What do you say?
That was the probably the top quote of the year there when Jerome Powell was told that person to shut the door. That was the best one.
Yeah. Well,
we caught a piece of that one.
I like the point that you kind of make there, Obi, is just that you just wait for the reactions, is that you have a general understanding, you know what you're looking for, like just when it comes from like macro data reports and FOMC and such, is that you may not like break it down into like something finite, but you have a general understanding and then you know what you're looking for in the price action from those reports. So yeah, again, like I like to say is, yeah, I know how to drive a car, but I don't necessarily know how to build one. So as long as you know how to utilize the tool in the correct aspect, then it can work out for you. So yeah, another $5 super chat from Nick W. You guys should do an entry of 5 stocks per person for the best stocks of 2025. $50 per person, and winner gets the most. Top 3 get paid like fantasy. Ooh, I know the boys to my right are definitely some fantasy players, but that's interesting. I like that structure that you got, Nick W. Maybe we get involved in that. So yeah, who knows? Yeah, that could be a good idea. And the top performers at the end of the year, kind of like a fantasy player would do, is the winner. So yeah, that'd be cool. Top performers win. Yeah, that's interesting. Maybe we can get into something along those lines and kind of have a poll to see who's leading. Yeah, lots of good ideas. Hope you're having a good day as well, too, Nick W. Much appreciated till you become insolvent and how it's said correctly. So, yeah, guys, let's see what's going on with the market. Starting to pull back. Obi, we are rejecting the volume-weighted average price on the overall markets. Haven't pushed through that. AMD did, and it's continuing to move to the northeast. Some strong volume stepping in on AMD. I was playing that hammer up here. Let's pull it up here, folks, and see kind of what, not the best, kind of push and pull with myself. But again, let's see what happens. Only time will tell. I'm playing a definitive signal here. So let's see if it comes into play and it becomes genuine. So again, I like this indecision print, this shooting star, inverted hammer, whatever you would like to call it, right above the volume weighted average price. One thing that I will point out here, though, folks, is these engulfing candles can project that there's some really strong buying pressure here as those candles close fully. Let's see if this candle print is genuine. If it breaks the high a day or goes anywhere relatively closer to it, then if it breaks this high as well too, then I'm going to get out of dodge on this one here, Obi, because I think there can be some more topside if the overall market decides that it wants to start to recover as well too.
I think that's kind of what I'm looking for there, kind of sellers to step back in. That was the idea of kind of shorting in and around this range. Now, of course, not every entry was necessarily the best there, but when it does come in on the break back through into the range there, it's looking much nicer with the market pulling back through that 21.5. So short kind of finally starting to work out a little bit here. And this is what I'm talking about, right? I know I'm not in the best mindset this morning. I know I'm not really necessarily following my rules, and I'm not making the best decision. So a good part of hopping onto the demo, which I am right now, and taking on reps and making good decisions, bad decisions, like getting that out of your system, right? Getting that out of your system. At the end of the day, it's like, all right, we know what good decisions are like. We know what good trades look like as well. So can I kind of put on that rep and kind of bring it all together so that when I hop back on into the game tomorrow,
right in early,
I'm ready. I've put in the reps, put in the practice. I've gotten all the bad juju out of my system.
There you go.
And we're ready to go once again tomorrow.
Yeah, big gym session tonight. Maybe get it out of there. Frustration.
Yeah, maybe.
And then
maybe we'll see. I might do some working out tonight. We'll see.
Right.
I don't know.
Okay, we'll see. Only time will tell. But guys, are we ready for that? Here we go. Time to pay some bills. Trade smarter, e-signal, folks. Not harder. Upgrade to an elite trading experience. Analyze, strategize, capitalize. Foresee profitable opportunities with the platform you need. Infinite data, instant trading, know where the market is moving before others with lightning fast data. Charts that change the game. Customize and analyze markets faster your way. Better backtesting and scanning. Predict the future by understanding the past. Reliable real-time data, up to the second market info from hundreds of global markets. Everything you need all in one place. Don't miss a beat. Execute your best trades now. Ready to elevate your trading? Scan the QR code or check the link in the description there. yeah, eSignal, folks. Good platform. Sharif, Sean, Neil use it. Yeah, good stuff there. But yeah, what do you got going on there, trade?
Nothing too crazy. Got out of that meta long there. I was looking for the push through that 622. Doesn't really come in, so I'm like, all right, well, I want a piece off of that one there. Slow, low volume grind up on Nvidia. I'm like, all right, well, let's see how long this bid can actually last. Seeing as sellers were in charge off of the open there. So yeah, sure, we're getting a little bit of a pullback. We attempt to break out, and you can see the breakout doesn't necessarily happen on expanding volume. So it's like, all right, well, we talk about trusting different moves, and you were talking about volume price analysis. So if the breakout happens with low volume, sure, it can keep on going, but do I really trust it? I don't know, but here's the thing: the execution has to be much more crisper. Instead of cutting it up. Shout out to CRISPR. Cutting it up on the upside here, you can kind of get a lot more involved and aggressive on the right side when it does reclaim some of this after that low volume bid up, and that's kind of the thought process right now that I'm having. I don't know if it's sustainable or correct, but it's kind of what's happened here right now, and given how I guess distinct the buying was. You can see back-to-back kind of candles holding. So a distinct buying coming in off of these lows, grinding it up, and then where does it stop? Do sellers step back in? Are they stepping in higher or lower? Well, they're stepping in a little bit lower than they were earlier. You can see that aggressive selling, a little bit of a bid catching on that 150, a little bit of a bid catching around 146s, a little bit of a bid catching around 144s. All of those times we caught a little bit of a bid. We sold off aggressively all the way into day lows as well. So let's see where the selling kind of catches again. If it does, you can see the market not really happy with that 21.5 as well, and couldn't even make it back up to that 6,000 mark on the ES. So we're technically making a lower high there on the ES as well. 59.90s on the ES, and catching a little bit of a sell. These tapes are hella red right now with aggressive selling coming right back in. You can see the constant buying just as constant is the selling as of right now. Do we make it all the way back to range lows? I have no idea. Technically, we are making higher lows after a break in the trend of Nvidia. So keeping that into consideration, keeping that on watch there. But yeah, no, I'm kind of thinking to myself, I'm like, even though I'm trading on the demo, I can definitely be making some better decisions here with the same amount of, I guess, aggression on the right side of the move there. So all the prices that I liked to sell at on the way up, I should definitely be considering selling at those same prices, or even a little bit, or in and around those prices on the way back down when it's actually confirmed that this is going in the direction that I'm looking for. So let's see whether or not that works out well, but I'm looking for a potential push towards this 141 here on Nvidia as the market takes a little bit of a pullback towards its lows. I have no idea whether or not it'll get there. That's what I'm looking for here. The failure to follow through on some of these names is definitely enticing and giving us that confluence for a push towards these lows. So we could just consolidate sideways. We only have just over 2 hours left in the day
in the session,
until the bell. So
yeah,
see what happens.
I agree with you. And I just to go back to like just the reps and practicing. Just for me, just from playing hockey and sports for pretty much my whole life, one thing that I was always told, especially from my peers and coaches, is just practice how you want to play.
Yes. Right.
So that's really important. So I mean, I totally get it from guys, if you're training demo or live, but you got to be able to reflect one into the other, right? Otherwise, things can get messy and can get messy extremely quick. So practice how you want to play. Be thorough in everything you try to do, and try to do it to the best of your abilities, I think. So yeah, good luck there, Obi. I like how you mentioned that. Just getting those reps in, practicing how you necessarily want to play. But yeah, I think that's key for everybody, whether regardless of what you're doing. If you have the ability to practice your skill and what you're trying to establish, then you want to do it to the best of your abilities, I think. So yeah, Mohit, yeah, love you too. Appreciate everything, guys. So yeah, get in those reps. I know you're talking about how you would watch tape at home all the time throughout the day after the evenings. I'm the same way, just running past data. What allows Obi to do that is the data that he's collected, recording a screen, going back into his journals as well too, folks. So just collect those things. Again, you mentioned this before, the ultimate player versus player game, the market is, right? So you got to think about what the best of the best are doing, and then try to do your best, right? Because if those guys...
How do different moves in the market align with your personality?
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, if Obi's, like for me, just if Obi's here journaling, he's doing his thing, you kind of want to be doing what some of these guys are doing as well, too. So, really good look there, Obi. Yeah, I mean, we took this AMD short here as well, too, my guy, off that signal that we did a lesson on over the past couple of days. We're now bouncing off the volume-weighted average price here. Let's see if we can punch through it, if this momentum is genuinely weak to the downside, and we continue in that manner. But as of right now, we were in the money bear versus bulls here on our SPY trade. Now slightly out of the money again, so a little bit of a tough look. We couldn't break through the volume-weighted average price on our Playmaker poll here on the SPY, slowly recovering. But again, I think it's just a session, Obi, where the sellers are in full control here. I mean, IBIT continuing to make new lows of day right now as well. NVDA with the inability to break through the volume-weighted average price. Fubo, one of the hottest stocks for the past couple of days, selling off as well too. RGTI selling as well. AMD was one of the stronger chip names. Let's take a look at MU, even though we haven't in a while, because you and I both said this morning that it was at the top of our list. It was one of on my journals. It was on the top of my list as well too, just from the setup. Really strong session, holding those levels from yesterday, but again, giving back some of those. Still positive on the session though. Obi up over 4% on the day, 4.2 to be exact. So really strong stuff here from MU. But yeah, again, weak session, totally justifiable. Those things happen. Unfortunately, we can't go up all the time. But guys, make sure you get those votes in for the rundown. Okay, cool. But guys, as of right now, we have an interview with Brando and a guest.
All right, we'll see you guys later. Take it easy.
Hey guys, yeah, thanks so much. We're excited to have co-founder and executive chair of Hive Digital, Frank Holmes, on the show for the first time. Hey Frank, thanks for joining us. How are you?
It's great to be with you.
Great to have you with us. A lot to cover here. Let's jump right in, because I want to get to this exahash number, because you posted 6 going back just a month or so ago, and now you're already talking about 12 to 15 coming up. That's some serious scaling going on over at Hive. Tell us about it.
Yes, well, most of our production has been in Sweden and in Canada and New Brunswick, along the border of Maine, and in Montreal in the Lachute area. The big growth is in Paraguay. And Paraguay is also hydro energy. We only mine with green sources of green energy. And that will give us about 100 megawatts there, will take us up to close to 15 exahash. So you got to add 6 plus. We're upgrading our machines, and that gives us more exahash, along with this dynamic growth that we're experiencing over the next 6 months.
So a couple of facts here. Let's back up a little bit here for anyone who's maybe not familiar with the company. It's been around for a long time. First public miner, first mining company to go public was here on the TSX. We're in Toronto, by the way. I don't know if you knew that or not, but just down the street. The company currently holds 2,700 Bitcoin on its balance sheet. That's up 67% year over year. Pretty impressive. I mean, give us your general thoughts here, I guess, on this market, because it's just been absolutely amazing to watch this price movement in Bitcoin in the past, 6 months, let alone, a year and a half.
Well, the big part was the vision for Hive originally was the first crypto mining company, and we took it public in Canada. And a big interest was because there was a lot of gold investors wanted to have exposure. And I'm known for the world of gold. I have gold mutual funds. I wrote a book on gold. I have 100,000 readers every week, follow what I travel around the world. And so they wanted to play Bitcoin, and this became the proxy for them. So Hive ignited, and along came many other miners. We've stayed focused on being green, and we're now moving the direction wherever we can source inexpensive energy. Well, the other part in that press release, we mentioned that we're hedging, and we're able to do that in Sweden. Right now, we're getting around 2 cents every time we're putting on a hedge.
Yeah, so when it comes to getting access to that power, what is the maybe biggest challenge the company has faced, to access it, first of all, but then to continuously have that available to produce as you have?
Well, that's energy's everything, and it's really gone through an exponential change since last year in March. We saw Amazon go spend $650 million to source nuclear energy, and all of a sudden the anti-nuclear energy space went quiet. They stopped attacking. The scramble for energy is huge, and the valuations that used to be $20,000 per megawatt is now pushing 2 million if you have stable electricity. If it's unstable, then it's worth less money. But still, for Bitcoin miners, what's really interesting, what we've done at Hive, we're the first to balance the grid. So when everyone turns on their toasters in the winter, all of a sudden we can go from 30 megawatts to 3. That energy goes back to the community, and the energy at nighttime when they're sleeping is not being wasted. The community is getting that revenue coming back to them. So that's been a win. And now in Lachute, we heat a building from 40,000 square feet to 200,000 after buying Bitcoin, making revenue from the Bitcoin. The machines are so hot, they create a liquid that goes across like a radiator into a building that has 170 manufacturing workers making whirlpools.
A byproduct, I guess, an excellent byproduct to have in that. Let's talk about Bitcoin here specifically. We've had all kinds of different catalysts, all kinds of different reasons as to why, people should be involved. If someone is still on the sidelines a little bit, humming and hawing, what can you tell them about, what's to come in the crypto market in general, but Bitcoin specifically, that has Hive so excited?
Well, it's evolved. They coming back on the ecosystem of digital gaming. Really, gaming was the first to come out with a token where you could get another game. So we have a huge young population that grew up in the gaming world, and they were the first to really embrace crypto. And we knew when we were mining Ethereum, before it went from proof of work to proof of stake, that at one time there were 30 million kids turning on their machines from the gaming, go to bed, and use their parents' electricity to go and mine an Ethereum coin. And they could get 2 coins a year. They could open an account. You can't open a bank account. You're 12 years old. You can't get a bank account. But going back 10 years ago, it was easy for a 12-year-old to get a crypto account and all of a sudden convert his Ethereum into cash to upgrade his computer. So this grew outside of the normal brokerage and banking world. And so I think that we're going through this next new level of the adoption process. But I wanted to share something I forgot earlier, is that Hive has always owned and put it on our balance sheet Bitcoin because we are a proxy for a lot of investors that want to have exposure to Bitcoin, but they've been reluctant to go to one of these crypto exchanges, which there's been so many duds in them blowing up, etc. So that's the proxy. What we do find is that we move 90% of the time by every 2 minutes with Bitcoin prices. But we're more volatile. So Bitcoin goes down 2%, we're going to go down 4%, 6%. It goes up 2%, we're up 6, 10, 12%. So we're more volatile, and the best way for traders is buy it on the down days. Because mathematically, in a long-term secular bull market, it's going to trade up. Don't buy it when Bitcoin is up. You buy it when it's down, like today. It's a classic. And I think a question I'm asked so often, what would make Bitcoin worth $1 million? 1 Bitcoin is worth 100 million Satoshis. At 1 cent, a Satoshi makes Bitcoin worth $1 million. So right now, a Satoshi trades at 0.0008 cents. And what would take it to all of a sudden is going to be worth that $1 million? Well, we have found that if you have certain numbered Satoshis, they're more valuable. We've been offered $10 for certain numbers. And what we're finding is that there are people out there that want on an epic day, the day of the halving, or the original coins, or anything special happens in the world, that they want that digital picture attached to that Satoshi, and they can send it around 20,000 nodes around the world, the Bitcoin ecosystem. And it's theirs. So I can have a picture with my 9-year-old daughter on her birthday, and all of a sudden I can crystallize that. So at $10, well, what does that make? A Bitcoin's worth $10 million. So going to $1 million and seeing that we're getting more than a penny, it makes it very foreseeable over time because of scarcity, adoption and scarcity. And what's not changed in macroeconomics are governments, the G20 are using MMT, modern monetary theory, printing excessive money for every program they have. And that is devaluing the currencies and other countries around the world more so than the US. And Americans are always complaining about how much the government is wasting money, but not compared to other countries, which is to me really fascinating, that we're going to see this adoption accelerate. I think you're going to see, easy $250,000.
Yeah, and well underway at this point, it seems anyways, on the adoption side of things. I want to touch on what's to come going forward. Calendar just rolled over. A lot of people looking at, what's the biggest opportunity going into 2025. A lot of people talking about, and rightfully so, the AI side of things. The company was one of the first on the Bitcoin side of things to adopt an AI strategy. Tell us about that.
Well, I mentioned earlier, we were the first to really mining, and we're mining Ethereum. And Ethereum always had much more robust profit margins than Bitcoin mining. It's interesting during that whole first launch of the creation of Hive, and we put it on our balance sheet. Well, that gave us an expertise in managing GPU chips. So to mine Ethereum and many of these alternative coins, you need GPU chips. When you're mining a Bitcoin, you need a truck. It's a Bronco Jeep. It is, but when you're mining with GPU chips, it's a Porsche. So we have the skill set and the technical people of managing GPU chips. And the GPU chips we bought several years ago, to the last big batch we bought, about $70 million from NVIDIA, we were allowed to buy two purpose. That is, we could do AI and we could mine Ethereum. So we started in that journey to be able to mine Ethereum and get our money back as fast as possible and build out our AI business. So the AI business now, we see that it could do 20 million, but it's very high margin business. And the rule of thumb is that for every 10 megawatts of GPU chips for AI, high performance computing data centers, that's equivalent of 100 megawatts of Bitcoin mining. It's so much more expensive. It's a different animal, but the revenue margins, they're more stable and they're higher.
We touched on a lot of things, Frank. Just quickly going forward into the remainder of this year, what do you leave investors with here for incentive going into 2025?
Well, a big part was we moved our head office to Texas. That allows us to qualify for going into indexes. So a lot of the Russell 2000, you can't go into that index even if you're listed on NASDAQ if your home office is in Canada. So we'll keep all the accountants and the CEO and the technical people are all in Canada, but the Sarbanes-Oxley type of audit internal process will come here to San Antonio, and we'll be able to run it from here. Then that will allow us to qualify for many of these other ETFs. And what we have seen is a big re-rating has taken place in America by having the home office in the US. And we've seen other companies like Palantir, which had a spectacular run last year, when they left the New York Stock Exchange to go to NASDAQ. Why did they do that? Because they were going to then go into the QQQ. Going into the QQQ, a $330 billion beast, all of a sudden their stock jumps 20% in an hour. So you have this sort of move to liquidity in the capital markets, and clearly I've mentioned this, that the capital markets in Canada, there's no tech fund. When Hive first launched and Fidelity was so great in helping us go and build our business, they gave us $100 million. It was not a tech fund, and the tech funds come from the US. So you're seeing it's a generalist in Canada, but here you have the math usually is 10 to 1. Everything is 10 to 1 between Canada population and the US. Similar GDP per capita, but everything else is 10 to 1. But when it comes to technology and risk capital, venture capital, it's 40 to 1. So the capital markets are much bigger and richer. So that's what the positioning, what we're doing for that source capital for the big growth that we have planned in front of us. And we hope to get this re-rating that we've seen other people that do not produce per megawatt of electricity the way we produce. We're the most efficient crypto miner in the world. We function in 9 time zones, 5 languages, and we are still the most efficient, and we have the highest revenue per employee in that space. So we're going to stay that way, and we're going to make sure that we're able to maintain that operating cash flow with the volatility of Bitcoin.
HIVE, for anyone looking for it, HIVE, the ticker symbol over on the NASDAQ, as Frank mentioned. Frank Holmes, co-founder and executive chair over at Hive Digital. Appreciate your time today.
Thank you, and Happy New Year and best.
You too.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, Frank Holmes, guys, co-founder and executive.
I remember trading that that ticker in the last Bitcoin cycle as well.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, it's been moving around recently as well, so solid. That's good. We got him up, kind of talking about what the business does and everything. That's pretty solid. I didn't know that they're one of the most efficient miners. I gotta look more
that's
into
key.
that.
We know that with Bitcoin mining, it's really cost ineffective, really. So it costs a lot of money to mine some Bitcoin. But yeah, guys, pull up my chart here one last time before we send it off to the big boys. AMD, we got that short signal here, folks. As I mentioned, just above VWAP, I'm told you we're looking for these signals at extreme highs, lows, and around the volume weighted average price. So there you go. That was one of them. Picture perfect with the example that we had in the lesson on AMD as well too. But it is 2 o'clock.
Yes, sir.
Send it off to the big boys and see what they got going on for us for the afternoon.
See you guys. Take care. Happy trading.
Yo, what's up? We got some stuff going on.
We're back. I just realized there was actually a chance on that Playmaker poll. It's weird. Like if you time